conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll begin with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the June 5th, 2023 Marion County Commission meeting. We are actually in a work session from 11 until probably 12, or as long as it takes to get through a good start on human resources work session, specifically the employee manual. So Tina's been doing a lot of work with the Austin Peters group. We have a lot of issues to discuss and review. We've had the packet over the weekend to look at, and there's quite a few issues on there to look at. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tina.
Okay. All right, just wanted to make sure I had some things written down here. So I sent you a couple of packets. One was the road and bridge career path and job description information. So that one I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to go through, and I have looked at it a little bit. And then the employee manual. So if we're
Why don't we start
good
with
with
the employee
that,
manual?
then yeah, I know that's what you had said. See if I can make it. Okay. So there were a lot of questions or edits. Some of the language with the blue-green on it is what they're recommending adding or changing in certain sections. And is it okay if we just go through the
I think that'd be
one thing
great.
at a time?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we're on the manual itself.
yeah.
All commissioners are.
Does everybody have it and open? Okay. So she had put in there that this pertains to employees, not elected officials or people with contracts. It does somewhat pertain, but there's some legal changes to the equal opportunity information, which really doesn't need any, in the ADA, those regulatory matters.
You say this is recommended verbiage,
Yes.
not required verbiage.
Is there something that you see that you wouldn't want in
Well,
here, because
Yes.
it would be, okay,
One thing, it brings up citizenship status. Would we ever be in a position where we would have an employee that's not a citizen of the United States?
where are you? What part are you on?
2.2, in the blue.
2.2, okay. I was looking at 2.4.
Was 3 there?
This second page.
Okay, which blue block? I'm not finding it.
Into the blue, actual perceived race, color, creed, religion, national origin, ancestry, citizenship status.
That's required language.
That's required.
But the answer to your question is we verify citizenship for
Well, that's what
the employment process.
When they have a work visa.
But I mean, would we actually be hiring?
We potentially could if they have a legal.
Yeah, they'd have to be legal, not illegal.
Okay.
I mean, we have to have proof of citizenship.
Yeah.
We have to have proof that they're
Anybody who
eligible to work.
comes to work for us.
That may or may not mean that they're a
And
citizen.
if Jonah applied, he'd have to show that he is a citizen. You know, he looks pretty white.
Or that he's legally present in the United States and eligible to work.
So if it's in blue, then it is required?
That is the language that's governed by federal law. So that is what they're recommending to put in. If there's something that you want to potentially ask about, I can ask. But that language about discrimination, I would think is not subject to changing. Because those are all protected classes according to federal law.
Well, I know we live in a different world than we used to, but the gender identity or expression, including transgender status, that means that we would also have to have an updated employment application that says male, female, or other, right?
What section are you on now?
Still in
Same.
2.2.
Oh,
Right toward the beginning,
First blue block.
of the 5th to 6th line of blue.
Because your employment application would have to mirror what's there.
Right.
disability, oh wait. 2.2,
Yeah, in the first column that's highlighted in blue.
But the 4th and 5th line are blue stuff.
It'd be the second set.
second page.
Parentheses, second
Yeah.
parentheses in the
Yeah,
same
two,
blue.
yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm sorry, I can't even see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of it,
Scroll up.
including transgender status
Scroll
is
up.
in
Keep going up.
parentheses.
Oh.
And above
You got
that.
up at 2.2, keep going
Gender
up.
identity.
Right there you
Oh,
go.
got you,
So
sorry.
Now, first blue block,
Okay,
there you go.
Yeah, yours is different.
Kent's in the middle of
yeah,
that
you're
first blue
fine,
block.
okay, I get you. Okay, so,
I can just see a lot of hiccups there.
okay.
Just- You
So
remove-
is your question just asking if we need to amend our, application?
Well, I think if we agree to that, your application's gonna have to mirror it.
Can't once you take.
You're gonna have
transgender
to have male, female, other.
Yeah. If you remove gender and then the parentheses, you wouldn't have to change your application.
I mean, if you included this, you'd have to change.
Right.
Yeah,
But if you remove gender
you wouldn't have to, no.
and including transgender status,
Right.
then
Okay,
identity or
we
expression.
cannot remove gender. Because that is a protected class, so actual or perceived, race, color, creed, religion, national origin, ancestry, citizenship, status, age, sex, or gender. And I would have to look to see if that gender identity or expression is updated federal law, which it probably is, sexual orientation, marital status, all those things we can't take out. You might be able to take out the parentheses.
But that's the way the world's going, so we might as well leave it, so.
I mean, it's just
Well,
saying
we
we cannot discriminate against people based on those qualities or those characteristics.
No, but then you're gonna have to cater to them.
We cannot discriminate against people with those protected characteristics, period.
Yeah. 'Cause you still got, mental disability.
I mean, all the medical offices have multiple choices now.
So, I'm
I'm
gonna
just- I'll
ask if
just say I'm
there's,
just not in favor of have that language.
okay. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying.
Sure.
But we
Yeah,
have
I
to
mean,
comply with federal.
if it's required federal wording, I guess
Okay.
there's nothing we can do about it.
Does anybody else want me to go ahead and ask the consultant for sure exactly what
Just
the
ask for
requirements are?
clarification.
Okay,
If it's required, it stays.
okay.
And it's also also in section 4, same verbiage.
2.4 or 4?
Section
Not in
4.
2.4.
Section 4.
Haven't got to yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess it's required.
2.2, page.
So it's
2.5.
the way the world is now.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want to be.
Doesn't mean we have to conform to the world.
We
does it?
certainly don't want to discriminate against someone specifically because of that. And we would be sued and lose. Because, we would need to
Yeah.
base our decisions on work experience and work performance,
Right.
not on those, that's all it's saying, is we cannot make our decisions based simply on those things.
Everybody has their own personal views.
Right.
But this is what the government's going with now.
Okay,
So the verbiage is in 2.2 and 4.1.
okay, so 4.1, sorry, I didn't,
That's all right.
I really didn't think any of this would be any kind of an issue. Okay, so 4.1. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, see in that next part that says, the purpose of this policy is not to regulate our employees' personal morality, but to ensure that no one harasses another individual. So, it's basically anti-harassment, anti-discrimination, so, okay. I will check on that. Are we ready to move on? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And that's in multiple sections, the same language. It's also in 4.3. Okay.
Is there anything in there that protects, so say, if somebody's uncomfortable with somebody, are we doing something equally for the other side?
People are uncomfortable with each other all the time. It's fine as long as you don't,
You don't harass.
you don't harass or you
intimidate.
don't discriminate.
Okay. I just-
Yeah, I mean, there's girls sitting in the offices that don't like each other,
Well, yeah.
but they have to sit there, that's a assigned position.
Yeah.
And they have to work.
Right.
We got some people, not friends, but they work together.
Right. No, it seems like a lot of times we spend a lot of times protecting one side of something and never defending the other side.
All right, let's move on. What's next?
Go out back and take care of
You said times are
Okay.
changing. That was something we did in
it.
the old
Some
days.
of it has changed.
We have section
I like that idea.
5, drug and alcohol policy. I mean, all of that is just kind of general language. The violence in the workplace. There's some suggested language on the blue, and then the green here, the weapons policy is contradictory, and I knew that section needed guidance. So we are working with an attorney on that part,
Okay.
okay?
So we can't drink when we go to conventions.
Well, I would think if you had a concealed carry, then you've went through the course.
Required training, well,
To-
it's not required,
You
can't
don't have to
require any.
have-
No, I know they don't, but if you at least require a concealed carry, the actual CC,
You are certified as
Yeah.
trained.
then that'd be like the sheriff coming in with his sidearm.
So our issue is with the open carry, because we
Yeah.
prohibited it in our policy, but then the law changed to allow it
Right.
unless you provide, like, in the county building here, it's allowed, because unless we have adequate security, so to speak, to be able to not allow it. And so, that means like metal detectors and monitoring and that kind of thing. And so we were not, at that time, when the law changed, able to disallow it, the open carry.
We still don't have the sign on the door. Oh,
No. It's not, it is prohibited in district court, and that's by a judicial ruling, and they do, have signs for that floor. But, and they, the security matter, what makes it adequate security, we have a security guard at the courthouse for 90 hours a month. Is that adequate security for open carry? You know, probably not, so.
So open carry is prohibited, but there's a difference between open and concealed.
Yeah, there's nothing that says
Right.
anything about concealed in here. I just thought if there was gonna be anything allowed, for sure, it should be concealed. Concealed with the license to conceal, not just because Kansas allows it.
Because of the way they make holsters and stuff now.
It does say, and there's some notes on here that they put in for some legal references. Like, there is a section on concealed carry. It says county employees and officials who are not otherwise prohibited may carry concealed handguns in conformance with that act. And it basically says that if they carry concealed handguns in county vehicles or personal vehicles while conducting county business, they must secure their guns, and, you know, it talks about that. So it is allowed, okay, concealed carry is allowed in our policy, open carry isn't, and the issue is what the law allows. So we're gonna need an attorney to help us.
And so
with that
what
section.
determines open carry? Open carry would be visually
Right.
being able to see a handgun.
Right.
Because sometimes that gets a little gray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that section is really not ready to go, but do you have any comments about what you would want, if it's possible, what would you want the policy to be?
Well, I feel like concealed carry should be allowed.
And as Kansas law, the open carry is allowed too, so.
Right.
Right, but
I see people walking around with a sidearm all the time. Don't bother me, so.
Well, it doesn't mean, but it does make people uncomfortable.
right, I mean, if we're all packing heat in here and people walk in to file for election or something like that, I just wonder how that,
Or coming into a field appraisal.
right, how does that make them feel? Do they feel intimidated, like they can't, like, if they're coming to,
I
like
mean,
you said, appeal their taxes, or?
It's becoming more and more common.
I mean, you probably got 2 girls in there that have guns in their purses,
Could be,
which I think you should.
and I don't know.
Good on 'em.
The key is to be consistent.
Nobody
Right.
advertises it.
I know, I mean, we
Right.
got a couple in our office, I said, thank you, somebody comes in, go ahead, you have permission to shoot.
Yeah.
So, any, like, just overall viewpoint of the board as far as you wanna be as open as, like, as free as possible, or do you wanna try to restrict, or do you have,
We're talking about employees, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
this is an
I-
employee policy.
You need as free as
I mean,
possible.
free as possible with employees. It's
Okay.
the people that you,
I agree.
that may be
Okay.
unstable that come.
Now,
in,
as
the
far
ones I'm
as,
worried about.
this isn't just about guns, it's also other weapons like knives and, all manner of weapons.
list.
I
Hand
mean,
grenades.
right. So, what, in regard to all those, you wanna be free and open with allowing employees to carry those items?
As long as it's consistent with
Okay.
state statute.
What's the 9, they're, instead of other? Got a
Where's that?
typo,
Probably.
right after, right below BB guns.
Yeah,
Switchblades,
it's other. This is, like, we had to convert it, we didn't have it in Word, so we had to do a conversion from Adobe to Word, and some of the things didn't work.
A lot of O's
Yeah,
turned into 9s.
yeah. So we'll have to get in there and fix some of those things, but, okay. Workplace safety and accidents, there wasn't really anything in that. We did, there was a recommendation or proposed wording on the employment application, about background checks. We do have, We don't typically do background checks on very many positions right now, and it would probably potentially be, like in-depth background checks would be like for your county administrator position and like high-level positions, they would have to agree to a background check, which would be run through certain measures. The sheriff's office does their own background checks for their folks, but really beyond that, we don't do much of any, so. This just says we may conduct background checks and what they can include. So,
What's a background check cost, do you know?
I don't know.
It used to not be that bad, these
I mean,
$100 or a couple $100.
I think that's probably about what it is.
I mean, I've had comments from people saying, why did you hire so-and-so? Didn't you check their background? Yeah, I've had those comments before.
Yeah.
You know?
Check the reference, but you didn't check the background.
And really for, it's more relevant for positions that, you know, have access to people's property or finances or, you know, those kind of things. It may not make sense to do that for every single.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has any form of trust, I would
Somebody's
think we would.
handling money or something like that.
But
Do you have a, I mean, are you wanting to implement, you know, more
we might not
comprehensive?
find an employee if we do.
I
I mean, it's sad,
I've
it's
just been
sad to
curious
say,
Would
but
would it
it's
be
brought true.
more appropriate tied to the job
Or a
description,
quick drug test of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
rather than just blanket in the employee manual, tie it to the job description? Because there's some jobs that's certainly more critical than others, unless you want every employee to go through a background check.
Yeah.
Can't afford that.
So, sometimes, like what was it, the good employee that Bryce wanted to bring back, but had a few issues. People
Yeah, I mean,
change,
we-
but the
we
fact
would-
that we already know about
We
it.
would
then
be nixing some probably good employees.
There's some people that just didn't get their stuff together early on in life, and you don't wanna hold that against them.
How about we keep it to the job description, you know?
So that's fine,
Because this gives you the opportunity,
right, right. So I guess at some point then we would need to have the discussion of which jobs you want that on.
can we delegate that to the county clerk? Human Resources Department.
Hey, you know, that might be a great job for the new
There
admin
you go.
to assign to their HR person.
Yeah.
See?
And it also just says that some occupations may be required to have, and maintain licensure. We didn't have that in there before, and it is actually true that some of our positions have to have specific credentials. Okay, let's see. The next blue section is confidentiality of county information. It's just adding this section that we are required to maintain information for litigation. The next section adds language for nursing mothers, which is now required by the Pump Act.
Oh, the pump act? Okay.
Pump
That's
Act.
what it's called.
I'll have to,
Pump
what
Act.
is it?
Yep,
Appropriate name?
yep. So I don't have any changes to recommend there. Overtime work must have prior authorization. That has always been our practice and expectation. I'm not sure what it actually said before, but I think it said that in maybe in a different section. Yeah, it did. It just moved it to the top of that section.
Okay.
We have some changes here on call. So this is something that has been difficult for us to manage at the county, and so it might be that's one thing that, right now, like in Road and Bridge, they carry a pager. And, we do, you know, we don't do overtime for most departments, we do comp time. And the way when they're carrying the pager, they basically earn an hour of comp time for every hour they carry the pager, unless it's on a weekend or holiday, and then they earn 1.5 hours of comp time for every hour they carry the pager. And that's a lot of
Yeah.
time off that's
Right.
building up because of that. And it's not time worked, it's just time for the inconvenience of being,
So you get 24 hours or you get 8 hours?
you get 8, I believe.
Okay.
That's wild. That was on call.
No, that's not right.
Get
You
like
get,
$2
yeah.
an hour or something.
right, so you get, I was incorrect, it's not that much, but it is, there's a set number of hours that they put in, I think it's like 3 hours.
Per day.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it says that right there, more than 3 hours.
this says, yeah, employees on call are paid 1 hour straight time for each on-call period, up to 24 hours. So that's changing a little bit of what we're doing now. On-call pay is not considered time worked, and, so that's just a problematic area. It would be nice to maybe look at, instead of doing comp time, doing some sort of $1 per hour, on a, you know,
We could budget that in, Kim. I mean, you kind of know, I mean, there's enough data.
It should be. We could calculate what the number of on-call hours are out there.
yeah.
Is that usually then done as a percentage of their wage? On-call time, or is it just a set
I would do
dollar
it as
amount?
a set dollar
dollar,
amount if you're
okay.
gonna pay it out, and just
Okay.
say this is,
Yes.
and you'd want a written agreement and that outlines that.
Put together a budget line item, so that way.
But then they have callback pay, which is, this is not what we're doing now. It says if they're called back to work, they'd be paid a minimum of 3 hours regardless of the number of hours worked. So if they are called into work, for an emergency, like on the weekends, if they work an hour, they're gonna get paid for 3 hours. And right now, we just pay them their time, you know. Actually, we don't even do that because they're comp
Give
time.
them comp time.
Right.
So we don't pay them their time. We actually, they earn comp time for coming back to work if they've worked over 40 hours. And so I guess what I would like from you all is kind of maybe looking at what kind of policy we want moving forward and what makes sense there.
It could be a big morale booster to do the 3-hour minimum.
But then are you gonna pay it, or are they getting comp time? Because then they gotta
Yeah.
take,
I would pay it.
It'd make it a lot simpler if it was a certain dollar amount.
I think you got full consensus to do pay for on-call.
As long as we can
Plan.
put a budget line item
Yep.
for each one of
So
these.
you pay their hourly rate
Yeah, it will be an hourly rate. Yeah.
That's
for 3 hours.
well,
So
wouldn't
if
that-
they're
wouldn't
called
that be
back-
for 3 hours?
Just be the hours.
It'd be the actual hours.
Yeah.
Two.
But
okay, so if,
when you leave home or when you
and-
get to the shop to get the county vehicle.
Well,
It would be- no, it would
actual
be the
hours
same-
work would be from the time you left home.
it
Till you
depends,
got home.
it would depend.
Right.
It would depend on what is typically considered compensable time for their position.
Some people have a vehicle already.
So if they normally are expected to report to the shop, and that's their place to report, if they get called back and they report to the shop, that time of drive wouldn't be covered,
Okay.
because it's not normally covered when you go to work. Your transport
Time to start
work.
when you reach your location.
Yeah, it kind of varies by scenario and by position, but whatever is normally compensable time would be compensable for this. And so if we did callback pay as an hourly amount, would it be, what kind of it sounds like maybe some of you are in favor of a minimum. Are you in favor of a 3-hour minimum, or are you in favor of a different number?
I'm in favor of actual.
We've got one actual and one 3-hour.
Yeah, I think just for the morale purpose for the guys, interrupt his family picnic. And they get it done.
They know that going in, that it's possible that
I
could
guess
happen.
I throw out some scenarios. What would be a short callback? I mean, it's just to come in for half an hour.
A road
Are there
closed
any
sign
of
or
those?
something like that.
Or most of them extended hours.
Yeah, by the
Replace the stop sign.
by the time, some people, just think of yourself,
Mhm.
leave your house, get here,
Mm-hmm.
do something,
Mm-hmm.
get back to your house.
Well, it's 3 hours. Let's go 3-hour minimum.
Yeah.
We'll have a final discussion on
That would.
But for preliminary.
It makes it worth me, like, a lot of times it might be in flood.
Right.
People are called out to place barricades.
Sure.
They're
That's
gonna
Or
gonna
to
be-
put
they're-
sandbags.
They're gonna be out for 4
They're gonna be
They're
out
gonna be
more
out
than
more.
that anyway.
I mean, you're gonna be, if they're just coming out for a short time.
Welcome, we were just talking about callback.
That's why I come up.
Okay, give us some examples and your input.
Yes. On the weekends, when the guys carry that phone, we in the past have paid them 8 hours of comp time for the entire weekend.
Right.
If they're called out on top of that, they've been paid the extra time as well.
But they don't get paid, they get
Comp, yes,
comp time.
yes.
Right.
Right.
The call-outs can be anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours. Typically what we do is we've reserved that for our hired and CDL employees, stuff to that effect, so that if they get called out for some sort of equipment operation, tree on the road, flood, whatever the deal
Sure.
is, that they can take care of themselves without calling in anybody else. If it's a flooding issue, typically we will mobilize more people to get that covered. So to say that it's going to be X amount of time, nobody knows what that is. I've also had it where one of the employees got called that was carrying it, but he had to drive 25 miles across the county to look at something. Now, I heard you talking about, well, that's the time from when they leave the shop. He leaves straight from there, you know.
But that's
so-
a different
in his-
scenario.
Right, but that's
Tina
what I'm
was from
saying.
different scenarios.
Yeah, and that's what I said, is to say that, I guess I would say from the time that they were notified by dispatch or whatever else, that's what the time would start. Or, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there because,
I think of, where my brain goes to is the, so you get off work at 3:30,
3:30, yeah.
3:30, drive all the way home. One of your employees, 30 minutes out, whatever it takes to get there. Boom, gets a phone call, has to come back, grab something, get organized, get out.
Right, right. And you know, and especially.
You want them to come back because you need it.
Yes,
Otherwise you
yes.
wouldn't be calling.
Exactly, and honestly, you know, and it's not fair to say that, a lot of the times we get calls about signs or whatever else. And it's not fair to say, just call Larry because he's the signing foreman. I mean, that's the whole point of spreading this apart, because honestly, the guys do feel kind of, I mean, it's part of the job, yeah, it is kind of an inconvenience to know that you have to be, you know, available for that call. So sometimes they do have to come back in here and get I would say probably the majority of stuff would be like stop signs that got hit. Well, we go out there and we have a couple portable stop signs that are on stands that we go out there and just sandbag them and take care of it until we can get to it on full time, or, you know, get the sign replaced. So that's the frustrating part. I mean, to say there's a certain amount of time. And
We're just talking about a minimum.
yeah, and it's like Tina said, you know, that's why I have so many guys that have so much comp time built up, is because of that. You know, they like working, but yet they, you know, do that over the weekends. They can't ever take that time off, and that's why it's become such a,
Right.
Do you have trouble getting people, do they volunteer for this comp time, or do you have
Well,
to sign them?
well, for the most part, it's assigned, because if you don't want to do it, then, and you get called out to do it. Now, it also says in there that they're supposed to come back when called. Now, I'm not gonna throw that out there that we do, most people that we call come right back.
Okay.
Now,
They'll answer the phone.
yes, now we do have some people that don't answer whatever else, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that, oh, I know whose number that is, I'm not gonna answer that.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe they just didn't get the phone call, you never know. But I mean, for the most part, these guys are very mindful and respectful of that responsibility, because there's a lot of things that can happen if we're not out there doing something, so. But
Okay, so what I'm hearing from the commission is you're in favor of doing, figuring out a formula for on-call pay.
Yes.
Hourly pay instead of comp time, and
Right.
then pay and call back with a 3-hour minimum, and
Yes.
that would also be cash payment.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. All right.
thank you.
yeah, I know it's very difficult to,
Comp time is so hard to get rid of. I mean,
well,
so,
in any of my leave is hard to get rid of when I have all, other than the vacation leave, which hits me too with these guys that get 4 weeks, they have to take it off, you know, every year or so, or each year or so. But I guess they've had the discussion in the past about paying overtime for that or whatever else, and from what I understand, it's kind of been a third. People said leave it like it is. People have said, hey, I'd like to have the overtime, or let's keep it as comp time. So whatever that position may be, so.
You probably now have less farmers than you did 10 years ago, don't you?
you got another clerical
Not really.
on the $50.
Yeah,
I mean, 10, 15 years ago, 80% of your workers
There's a
were
comma
farmers
instead of a period.
who wanted summer off farm.
well, that's what most of the guys use
Yeah.
it for, is that, but, so.
But I think the consensus there is to start addressing some of that comp time that just keeps exploding,
Yeah.
building up, building up, building up. So we'll go draft a proposal, and then we'll work on that.
I just mainly want to talk about those
Yep,
calls.
I appreciate that, 'cause
Thank you.
I was trying to think of scenarios. And
Yeah, and I wish I could say there was, but like I said, majority of them are like stop signs or things like
Sure.
that that are hit.
Yeah, the
that,
stop sign needs to be addressed
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. But,
You get called out for accidents?
the only time we really get called out for accidents is if there's something that of ours is damaged.
Okay.
Because we do not provide traffic control,
The bridge
that's
or
law
sign or
enforcement,
something.
first responders. We typically will get called, like if a bridge railing gets hit, and we've had people go out there and look at it. Typically, we can't fix it, we'll just put up cones or something to that effect.
You don't have to clean up.
Well, no, that should be all part of the recovery with the towing company and things like that. And the law enforcement, first responders are pretty good too. They try to push things off to the side to get it open as soon as we can, so.
Very good.
All right,
All right,
thanks.
thank you. Yep.
Okay.
Next is longevity.
Longevity, that's just the policy that you recently implemented. I made that correction.
Correction.
Yeah.
That looked like a big number.
Yeah, it did. Okay. So sometimes we have had employees either lose their paychecks or they never get it in the mail. And so, we just have in here, if it's not received within 14 days, that we will reissue. Because the mail is worse and worse. And we encourage people to sign up for direct deposit, but we are not able to force them, so. Yeah, I mean, I think we could if we
Yeah.
gave them a card, and some companies do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna do that,
I
I'm
would
open
do
to
that.
it.
I would do that.
We did, we gave them a Walmart card, you know.
Yeah, if they want to get a checking account, you set them up with a card, and you deposit on that card, because we found we lose 10 hours a week just when everybody got paychecks. Because I gotta go to the bank, I gotta go to the bank, I gotta go to the bank. No, you don't, it's done, it's there.
It's 3 o'clock, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But that means they must have an account. Well, not necessarily, depends on if a bank, a lot
Well,
of
we
banks won't cash.
forced that
won't
a
cash
couple
it.
years ago.
A check unless
Everybody's
it's, well,
fine.
they will if it's on them,
Yeah,
but if it's not, they won't cash it anyway.
So is
We've got
the
a
commission
consensus.
wanting to do that?
I think there's a consensus to do that. We're gonna get some pushback, but in
Because the
the
local
long
banks are
run,
glad when people want an account
You got it.
to receive it. Then they can go down and just cash out every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
do whatever they want, but
Nothing
they
else, they
can't
just
take
have a
time
savings
off to
account,
go.
doesn't charge them anything.
Do you have an idea what percentage are getting paper checks now?
Not very many,
Okay,
yeah, very few.
good. All right, let's investigate that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Make a decision.
the direct deposit only.
While we're on payroll,
Yeah, a
this
lot
may
of
be,
places don't even give you an option anymore.
this may be out of line, but what would be the process of going to every 2-week paycheck versus once a month?
I mean,
Extra payday.
yeah, I mean,
Extra clerical.
I mean, I don't think you really want all of the logistical process, but,
No, but I guess, would your recommendation be to, is your recommendation to stay as we are?
I really don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there.
Thanks a lot.
I
So
mean,
there.
I know,
you know,
gosh.
we have surveyed, the commission has asked that the employees be surveyed in the past.
Oh, okay.
And we have done that, and
Okay.
in the past, it's always been, the monthly has won out over
Oh.
It's just
bi-weekly.
the new guy that
It's
suffers
just,
from
yeah,
it.
it's just the new ones.
Well,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it also hurts us on hiring some people too, because there's been some good applicants, and then they realize you get paid once a month, and oh, I can't do that.
I can't go 45 days without pay.
Right.
I am, I'm not opposed to
Okay.
changing,
I
and if
did-
that's something that the board wants to do, there are some things we would have to, tweak on our system and with our reporting with capers and all that, but it's definitely doable.
I mean, I see it as a gain, because
It's
some of the
it's a positive.
younger crowd, it's hard to recruit them on a monthly basis.
Yeah, it takes a little getting used to for people, especially if they don't have a spouse or someone that is being paid every couple of weeks.
Right.
But it's once you're on, I mean, I guess the advantage is, with budgeting and all of that. And
When you're out of money, you're out of money.
Yeah, it's a long time to wait when some of those guys can blow it quick, and then they gotta,
Okay,
then they quit to go do something else, because they gotta have a steadier check.
so what does the board want me to do on that?
I would, twice a month, I mean, just get in the 21st century, everybody pays twice a month now, don't they?
I pay once a week,
Once a week.
once a week.
I don't wanna do that.
Do they come back on Monday?
Tina has an opinion
I
on that.
don't think that is achievable for us.
Yeah, and it's, payday's always on Tuesday,
Oh, okay.
so they gotta come back.
See, if you paid on Friday, then I'll come back.
This is the voice of experience.
Yeah, no, it's been working really well for me.
Huh.
It might make a difference on, depending on how it would be set up, it might make a difference on commission schedule.
For payday, could we have a
We
payday
have two
twice?
paydays.
Right, but
Didn't
when,
think
what
about
would
that.
you suggest that they be? Be on Mondays and like every other Monday, or unless, and then if there's a holiday, how do we handle that? And,
Well,
How does it affect the payday?
you pay on the
at end of
1st and
month?
16th.
well,
So you do it every 2 weeks and you do it on Mondays, then
right,
is there still a need to do a monthly payday?
no, I wouldn't think so.
So we just do paydays every other Monday,
Which actually would help in some situations.
and we don't have to have payday meetings at the end of the month.
We'd have to pay on the 1st and the 16th, wouldn't you?
Why?
Was 16th to the 30th, every 2 weeks?
I'd be in favor of doing every other week on Monday.
Yeah, you don't have to have a payday meeting then.
Yep.
Just take care of it then.
So we do have multiple holidays that fall on Mondays.
Right.
So then would payday be,
The
We
Tuesday
would-
following.
Isn't
Yeah.
it usually the
Whatever.
prior Friday then?
yeah, it would have to be before. I
Oh, it
don't
has
think
to
you
be
can
before.
delay it.
No.
Yeah.
So then
Can
that
you?
would mess up payday.
So they have money on a holiday?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe you can delay it.
No,
If you're,
no, makes sense, I understand.
No,
you
you'd
would
have to do
go
it
the day
prior.
before.
Yeah, then you got the issue with
Well,
a
Then
bonus
you-
payday.
not necessarily, so say it'd be the 12th would be the holiday, right? But the 13th is actually the payday, it's just the
Do we have to
approval is on the
approve
12th.
Employee payday?
So then the payday's the following day after.
I thought you said that there was some issues about doing that later.
I think that's the reason why. we
than
do
the
Tuesdays.
scheduled day.
I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it later than the schedule, like paying them later than
Yeah.
what the scheduled day is. Making them wait if there's a holiday. I wasn't understanding what you were saying.
So the payday approvals would be on Monday, but the actual payday would be the following Tuesday. So that way, if there was ever a holiday, then you still meet on Tuesday and still approve it, and it'd still go out that day.
So you're saying instead of payday being on Monday, be on Tuesday?
Yeah, but the meeting's actually on Monday.
And you're paying for what days? From 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks, just 2 weeks, but it's just,
Not the last-
checks don't go out till the day after. Or if there's a holiday, you have a payday meeting that on Tuesday because it's a holiday, and checks go out that day. They still.
Or how about move our commission meetings to Tuesday?
I think that what Jonah's saying is workable, just because we
Okay.
just need to
It's
have
just
our direct
consistent.
deposit to the bank for Tuesday
Okay.
by 11 o'clock on Monday morning.
Okay, so keep like you said, the approval on Monday.
So you'd have to do that on Friday because it'll be
Tuesday.
closed.
No. Payday would be on Tuesday.
Right.
We would approve on Mondays. And if it's a holiday, we
Oh,
would
I see-
approve
I
and
see what
pay
you're
on the
saying, yeah.
same day.
Same day would be Tuesdays.
So payday,
Yeah.
that would make it.
That would work.
Make sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job.
Simplicity works the best.
I love things. Now just move our meetings to Tuesday, and then it's all taken care of. Then we'd have to reschedule meetings.
Pay my bill on Monday and the check bounced.
Oh, no,
You need to change your payments.
You prefer Mondays?
I don't know what I prefer.
Okay, I'm raising too many questions. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, so
these weren't even on our
They're
list.
gonna have people say, well, I've got automatic payments and I have to change them all now.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to figure out what the actual pay period would be.
Mhm.
Cause right now it's the 21st through the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Need to back it up 5 days to the 15th.
You'll probably get some kickback, just because people have their payments scheduled for
I was
certain
just gonna
days.
say, we're gonna, once we figure out all of the
Mhm.
logistics of it and what it looks like, we're gonna have to, have an effective date and notify
Mhm.
people ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if
Because
you
a
do
lot of
it,
those automatics aren't that easy to get changed.
if you did it on a month like this month,
Mm-hmm.
it would actually benefit them because they'd get their paycheck about 4 days early.
Yeah.
It'd be less pushback if there was a longer week at the last.
Okay, sorry to keep,
No, you're fine. So is that the consensus to look at trying to do?
bring us a proposal.
Okay. All right. Travel and reimbursements. There's a note on here, that most organizations are moving away from doing travel with receipts and payback, and they're going more to a per diem. So my question is, do you wanna keep doing it the way we've been doing it? And we're on page 12, at the top in the green. Or do you want to go to a per diem for travel? I don't have a preference.
How much do we have? Quite a bit reimbursement?
The reimbursements hold people accountable a lot of times, and that's my opinion. You don't bring me a receipt, you don't get your reimbursement.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I-
allow the
I wouldn't be in
confusion that
favor of
happened
getting away
up
from
north.
receipts,
Okay.
I'm
because
almost-
that's just an area that
Consensus
can get
is
abused.
Stay as we are.
Okey doke. So, per diem. If you use your county card, you would still have to provide detailed receipts as part of
Yes.
the credit card policy regardless, for us to pay that, otherwise you have to pay it back.
And what you had for the meal?
Yeah.
Yeah, detailed receipt, not just
So,
the number.
Two
Um,
drink minimum.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Trying to see what else is here.
You need a 59 hours a day.
So, yeah, no kidding. Depends on where you go, I suppose. We don't travel that far either most of the time. We're
Yeah.
staying pretty local. So holidays,
I could do
we
that.
have had Columbus Day the past couple of years,
Okay.
and so it is on here. And she just changed the wording on the Christmas one.
Mhm.
So here's the issue that we have, that in our current policy, we have certain departments that don't work 8-hour shifts. We have, law enforcement that are working either 10s or 12s. Let's see,
And then EMS.
Yeah.
and then EMS, and so. So there was just a suggested change that a 40-hour week employee would have 8 hours of holiday, 12-hour shifts would get 12 hours, 24 hour shift. Would have 24 hours, and she gave us some examples. Do you have any objection to that? I mean, I feel like it's fair that they're gonna, when they're working the holiday, they get paid for it, but they should also get that holiday pay that matches their shift.
Mhm.
No, anybody have any objections?
Is that double time or is that comp?
So, and that, sheriff's department, we pay overtime, so they get pay, okay? EMS is the same.
Okay.
Your run-of-the-mill, regular, everybody else is comp. So,
Should that be another one changed to pay?
I think we need to discuss the whole comp time issue as a
Agree.
whole. So, that's on my list.
Okay.
Okay.
I will address
But
it.
for
I'm in
this,
favor
the
of
holiday,
overtime.
you're
No
what?
overtime?
Just overtime, period.
Yeah, it's hard to budget, but I suppose it's not. I mean, there's enough historical data that she could pull up that we could probably get a pretty close budget
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, that's the direction, I think,
But overtime can also get abused.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's why you've gotta train your department heads that they have, and it needs to be stated as it is in our policy that any overtime is authorized in advance, so. Holidays, move to suggested. We're gonna need more time, aren't we?
Yeah, I didn't budget very well.
Sorry about that. Well, I didn't know we were gonna, it's good discussion.
discussion.
Yeah, and I think, oops, I don't know.
We're- Can we do another work session next Monday?
On the
12th?
I won't be available.
Okay.
Well, I have to go to Lawrence to present,
Okay.
at an election panel that day.
I might not be here the 19th. It just depends on how quick I can make it back.
Okay.
When are we starting on Friday?
9 a.m., 9 to 4.
Only for-
Don't figure on that.
No, we're not heading it to Friday.
The accountant's gonna be here?
Yes,
Yeah, well,
all department heads.
I think it's department heads before the accountant.
Oh, and with Scott Lloyd.
Well, Scott's gonna be here.
That's what it
Scott-
says.
Scott's gonna be here.
Okay, look, there was one year where they just brought us stuff and
Right.
stuff and stuff, and I,
Right.
he says, where's the accountant?
So what are the grocery store?
And then she ended up sending it all to him, and then he came back, and then we did another meeting.
Yeah, it was
like
every
3
week.
meetings,
Yes.
it was like, phew.
Yeah, he needs to be here the first one. Okay, so not the 12th.
I might not be here the 19th. Just saying.
Yeah.
And then the following month, everything's coming ahead here with budget. Just figured I better tell you guys.
We've got 2 budget meetings this month, 1 budget meeting.
Okay, let's talk
14th.
about what you want for lunch. Do you want us just to grab some for the grocery store, or do you want Subway, or what would you like?
Preference.
They
What's
have
the
meatballs.
fastest, I guess?
Yeah.
Grocery store probably.
They have goulash meatballs, or like the, chicken strips, fried chicken.
I'm always down for the chicken strips.
2 chicken strips.
Okay.
Meatballs?
No
Chicken
meatballs.
strips.
Okay.
Just
Senior-
2, not 3.
You guys all want 2 strips, or do you want 3?
No,
Two.
two senior portion. I'm a senior.
Okay, and
He's
then
a senior, he needs a
you want
senior
sides with it, like mashed, what do you want for sides?
Mashed potatoes, gravy.
That's fun.
Yep.
What do you want?
Choose a vegetable.
Corn.
Yeah.
Corn.
Who knows what you got for vegetables?
They have green bean casserole.
Green bean casserole.
I always go to the
Mac and
the
cheese.
salads, the cold salads. That's usually where I go, but no, I just.
Green,
Is there a-
green
keep it the
beans.
same.
Just make them all the same,
Yeah,
whatever it
like
is.
2 chicken strips, mashed potato gravy, and green beans.
It's a casserole, it's a green bean casserole, it's not just green
Oh,
beans.
Well, they have corn.
Yes,
Just
Corn.
give you corn
They got
for everybody.
I think they do.
Good.
Gotta support the corn producers.
There you go.
Okay.
I do it.
Sweet corn.
Bean
Okay.
producer, right?
I'm
We got any bean growers
Sorry
with
about
the
that,
gardeners.
guys.
Not at
We'll
all.
get it, we'll get it. Okay. They all want 2
Yeah, our budget meetings are the 9th, the 23rd, and the 14th.
Put a star by the date Joe's gonna be gone.
Okay.
Or how about the 19th? Go back to June.
What,
You said you were gonna be gone the 19th.
gone here to here, might not make this one. But that's also Juneteenth, it's a holiday.
It's not a holiday for us, unless you guys designate it.
Could,
I
would you
vote
wanna
no.
move, would you wanna move the meeting to the 20th?
I don't wanna put anybody else out.
Or we can have a special meeting, but we already have a special meeting that week for budget, so.
That's what I, if we could give up the 19th and do the 20th, and then we could, do it in one meeting. Does anyone have anything on the 20th?
How big's the agenda on the 19th? Can we start early then?
Well, Jonah's not gonna be here.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Public forum at Marion County Conservation District.
June 20th, you said?
Yeah, at this point, it's a lot.
Well, you could jump on your Zoom.
And then the RFPs
Oh,
are due actually.
They're due here, I was gonna have review them here, but
You
we
won't
can,
be here.
it's fine to do it the next day.
how about, then that means move to 20th.
Yeah, I mean,
Would there be, is there opposite, we'll ask Randy when he gets.
I'll be fine.
That's fine for you?
yeah, I'll be headed on the road here, but pending.
That way Jonah will
I think
have-
it'd be better if you were here.
Yeah, you won't have to crash and burn somewhere, hurry.
Drive all night.
That way, if we do the 20th, we could do another work session on the employee manual.
Okey-doke,
Does that sound all right?
yeah,
Let's do that.
all right. Okay, so we talked about holidays and everybody's good with going with something different there. Same thing would be, so the vacation accrual. Right now, they have to work a whole year before they earn any vacation. And Beth said that's an outdated practice, that people don't do that anymore. And it is an issue for people that are brand new and have no sick leave, no time off. And so most employers are allowing hours to be accrued and used in the first year.
Yeah,
And so,
that's the way we do it, we do.
You work a year and you get
No,
vacation.
No, we do, you work a week and you get, I can't remember what it is, it's a few hours.
1.3 hours. I mean,
Something.
1 point.
But it's.
so you accrue as you go.
Yeah, so every week gives you a little bit, and after, a month or so, you could use a day if you had to.
After 6 months, you'll have 3 days vacation.
Yeah, I think there's support for, what do you call accrual?
Okay,
Just-
vacation accrual.
It allows you to.
Do you have objection?
You
I
get,
don't know.
you get sick days the same way, don't you?
The way we do sick leave right now is, you earn 1 day a month as long as you've worked 12 days.
Do you have PTO here?
No.
Okay.
specifically sick leave, vacation, and then comp time, which is the overtime. So that's one thing that has come, that Randy has brought up before, is switching away from sick leave and vacation and just go to paid time off. And generally speaking, I think what he was intending was to, and this is typical, I think, that when you go to that kind of a system, that you take off some hours. You don't give as many hours as you do if you have separate sick leave.
Okay.
See, PTO, you take off at 3 o'clock, so you get 2 hours that day that you took off, instead of a whole day.
The whole day.
You went to the doctor or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Where you're supposed to
you
work.
can do that, you can do that with sick leave too, but the difference with sick leave is you can only use it for if you're sick, your family member's sick,
Right.
or you have a doctor's appointment, or your family member has a doctor's appointment,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And that gets a little bit hard to manage sometimes
You have to lie a
because,
lot.
well, I mean, if somebody is taking leave for something else, and like if they leave for some reason, but they don't have any regular paid time off, vacation or comp time to use, and it's not eligible for sick leave, then they're taking that time without pay when they actually have paid leave on the books.
They call in Monday morning sick because they didn't make it back from the services.
Well, I mean, sometimes they could, and it's not like we aren't gonna be able to really
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't have
monitor that.
doctor's note.
So.
Doctor's note only applies when you get so many days in a row, I think, isn't that how that works?
So I will work on a vacation accrual, a proposed policy for that.
It usually never comes out exactly right, so you end up giving them like 81 hours or something.
So, yeah, the sick leave acceptable uses. I don't know if the board is, if you want to make a change to paid time off, I think this is an appropriate time to potentially do that, but I'm perfectly happy to keep it as is, it's easier for us, but, but I'm okay with changing too, if it makes
Do we
sense.
convert to sick leave the PTO then, that they have in the MAC?
No, I wouldn't think so.
So you just start a new clock?
You would start a new clock, and so,
So you got
that would
three to
be
keep
a
track.
hurdle, you know. Well, I don't really know, I guess we could just convert it. But then you have the matter of what our policy is when someone leaves, we don't pay out sick
Sick leave.
leave.
Right.
Yeah, that is a hurdle.
We don't pay out PTO either. We pay out vacation.
Yeah, we pay out vacation.
People usually take a couple days off before they leave.
Well, I was, need them till.
So you end
till
up with the
end,
same
so
amount of
I
record
can
keeping
tell
as
them
if you
you're gonna
had
get paid
vacation and sick leave then.
Right, that,
Yeah.
Don't just
that doesn't make a lot of
ditch
sense.
me the last
to
week.
change it.
Yeah. So is there a desire to explore PTO or leave as is?
I don't know.
I think that if there's not a desire to change, that we should just leave it as is. And with the switch of allowing the vacation to accrue earlier,
Mhm.
I think that will help people.
Well, and there's some other issues we're taking care of with comp time, that should help. Okay, I don't see a strong burning desire to pursue PTO.
Okay,
Don't want to upset everything.
right?
I think your list is
I
getting
just want to get rid of
longer.
comp time.
It is.
Okay, so now talking about comp time.
Oh boy, here we are.
And we try to require that in practice, it does say we require comp time to be used before vacation, but if that means someone's gonna lose vacation, then we don't do it that way.
Right.
We use their vacation if they're gonna lose it, because otherwise they're just gonna come in here and get it carried over.
Yeah.
So, but in most instances, we try to use the comp time first. So the comp time policy, we have a pretty high number of hours that we allow to be accrued, which is 240 hours, which is the maximum under I think, Fair Labor Standards.
Well, if we're gonna pay it out and make it more overtime than comp time,
That should start reducing.
then it should clean all this up. But what do
So-
we do about the comp time that they've banked?
Well, on that, you would encourage them to go ahead and try to use it. You know, they would have it available to use, they just wouldn't be able to earn it anymore.
Then they would, yeah, but then they wouldn't be banking on top of it.
Can't believe Johnson County allows 480.
I don't even see how they can, I think there's a maximum, I thought there was a maximum of what you could if there's a cap
Getting to the point.
under Fair Labor Standards.
But we'll still have comp time somewhere along it, won't we, or what, so
No.
overtime goes to comp.
So if anybody's working, so people have comp time that they've earned that's on the books. If you change to cash overtime, people would just be paid, well, and then that brings up another matter, because we pay a set amount each month regardless of the number of hours. So by the end of the year, it's an average hourly amount, because some months are, longer than others, and they get to pay the same amount every month. And if you're gonna switch to twice a month, or every 2 weeks, would you want to, except for your exempt personnel, change to pay hourly? Cause you're paying,
Because February, you make a lot of money per day then.
yeah. You make more per hour in February than
Yeah.
you do in May.
Mhm.
And so if you're gonna pay overtime,
Mhm.
you'd almost have to be paying hourly
Mhm.
to be able to do that. And the wage comes out the same at the end of the year.
And you
It's
get-
just, you'd get paid more one month than another.
You get paid one more payday too, when you get paid every other week, don't you?
Yes,
Mhm.
but we would have to take that annual amount, I think, and
Divided by,
divide it.
To come off the hourly.
by the weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some analysis of all that to make
52.
sure we have our numbers all
Mhm.
balanced out.
So it'd be
But
26, right? 26 pay periods.
yeah, if you're paying every
Yeah.
other week. Yes.
So you'd have to divide that annual salary by 26.
So if we went just to overtime, would we start, okay, this date, we're paying overtime, and you have to use up your comp time?
Yeah.
But if they can't build any more comp time, then
Right.
it's kinda, then it's not, then you're not really pushing them. They could just sit back there until you have time to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as you're not stacking on.
Right.
Now, keep in mind that if somebody leaves, we are obligated to pay out comp time because that's
Right.
overtime. We can't not pay it.
But that's a termination, isn't
Yeah.
You pay it overtime or just regular wages?
Well-
It's regular time by the time,
But the-
because we convert it at the time
Okay.
they earned it.
When they get comp time, it's pretty much time and a half comp
Sometimes,
time.
yeah, sometimes it's straight time and sometimes it's time and a half,
Okay.
depending on how many
Yeah.
hours were
What-
worked in the week.
So they get 12 hours.
But it's
when they're working.
already been converted, but for the accrual. So, I guess that's, I guess I need to know whether you wanna switch to, I mean, this is kind of a big conversation,
Yes,
but.
It's
a huge conversation.
I think we wanna stop comp time and start overtime and use your comp time in the future.
Yeah.
And along with that, you would pay hourly instead of like a monthly set amount.
Yeah.
What does everybody think about that? And,
I've always kind of been in favor of going to overtime, getting rid of this comp.
Okay, well, I think we're on the same page.
okay,
Yeah.
and you're okay with that also involving having to go to hourly pay instead of monthly amounts? Except unexempt.
Right.
Unexempt, I'm gonna have to figure the salary based on
Do we wanna put
26 and
a
stuff.
time limit on the use of the comp time that was
No.
accumulated?
We,
if they can't bank anymore.
We do have a time limit on it right now.
But, yeah, I would
It
figure.
won't be growing to the maximum. It'll
Yeah.
stop growing.
I mean, it won't grow anymore,
Right.
so I don't know if we wanna put a,
They need to use it within the next 6 months after we start this program?
I wouldn't even do
It just
that.
depends on how, like, some of the people have a
well,
high
some people have a
balance.
whole bunch.
I just let it carry, because they can't put any more on it. So it's like
Open-ended.
vacation time, and
You
just,
give them a year to use it then, too.
yeah.
I think the employees would like that. I just use it when I need it, and I don't have to worry about, I gotta use it by.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So not put a limit?
That's my feeling.
Right, we'll leave it open.
Unless you see a need for a limit, just so you can get your books cleared off.
Well, you know me, I like to
Yeah,
come
she
to
wants
what's
to
going
know
on.
what's
But it's okay, let's
It has to be used
see.
up.
By the end of 2024, December 31st, gotta use it all up.
Well, we gotta get a policy first.
Yeah.
Let's get to that point, and then we can set it in.
All right.
Yeah, we've read something reasonable.
No use worrying about all of the other details, and then we get stuff like lock.
Sometime over the next decade.
Don't do anything.
Okay, I'll just put in here, use balance within question mark, and then that you all don't want to be too restrictive. Okay. Are you okay to keep going till the
Mhm.
food gets?
Just as well.
I know, I'm sorry
Yeah.
about the miscommunication on that.
What?
I thought I had it ready to go, and it was not communicated well.
We can eat
Okay.
during the meeting.
Shared leave.
We go into executive session,
To eat.
and the other meeting starts.
Oh dear, you can do your personnel discussion and have lunch at the same time. So currently our shared leave policy, we do not, allow it to be used for pregnancy. And that has come up multiple times. When it was first introduced, the purpose of the shared leave policy was for catastrophic illness or injury. And, but the board has allowed it to be used for just kind of routine surgeries and different things like that that weren't, I mean,
Yeah.
it might be catastrophic to them financially, but it wasn't necessarily a catastrophic event. And so, potentially opening that up to be able to be used where people could donate if somebody's off for pregnancy or parental leave.
Be a good benefit.
But the employee does that of their own free will.
Right, exactly.
I wouldn't be in
Another
favor.
employee. They give it up to another.
Right, so if they
But-
wanna donate, they can, but they don't
They don't
have
have
to.
to.
It's not anything, it's just that would be eligible to request donations.
How does that donation work? So if one person makes $18 an hour, one person makes
It doesn't
$16
matter,
an hour.
it's the hours. It's the number of hours. We don't pay attention to how much the hour's worth for,
The pregnant lady still gets the same pay she left with.
Right, I was just saying, because.
right, so somebody that makes $25 an
Yeah, and
hour
then
can
somebody
donate
don't.
to somebody that makes $12 an hour.
Right,
and
But it's still hour per hour.
It's still hour per
But if
hour.
it was the other way,
Same,
then,
yeah.
because somebody could make $12 an hour and
You know
donate.
how to work the system.
Well, I'm always looking for it.
Yeah,
Looking for
and
the
it's
scam.
not used often, but we do have it, people have asked to donate before for that, and it hasn't been allowed, so we've
Because
had to
the
say
younger
no.
people using it, and the older people have the hours built up.
Yeah, yeah, so it's in the county benefit there, but there could always be
Is
this
that one
manipulation going on.
Now, it's not allowed to care for a child following birth or in connection with the placement of a child currently for shared.
So the dad couldn't take off the care for the child with somebody else, with shared leave.
No, right now, it's not, we can't use it at all for like timeout to have a baby or anything else. So there was also a suggestion or about a parental leave policy. Instead of adapting the shared leave policy at all, to implement a parental leave policy. And she was talking about that many companies now that it's outdated to make people take time off without pay for pregnancy or birth or placement of a child, that a lot of places are paying parental leave, so. Anyway,
Which you got vacation for.
so I don't know what your thoughts are. I heard Kent say he's not really in favor of adding pregnancy to the shared leave policy.
I
That's where
don't really, I don't know why you restrict one employee from helping another. I mean, that's team building.
Is it a national standard?
No.
But it is a direction that companies are going.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a national standard that it be excluded or included. This is just a county policy as far as the shared leave, being eligible
But I'm
to
saying,
ask for donations.
is
you're
shared
getting away
leave
from the
policy?
intent of the shared leave. The intent was for people that don't have enough hours but have emergencies and somebody wants to help them.
That was the
That was the
story.
intent.
But-
So
but
we
you're
get away
also-
from the intent.
You're also helping in another aspect with the shared leave, because we've got people that can't seem to use their vacation time or whatever, and they're donating their time to these individuals that have enough time, and it knocks them hours down.
We're gonna be getting a younger population, because a lot of older people are retiring.
Has that been an issue with those that have had babies, that people have wanted to share?
People have wanted to and
Well,
haven't
then that's
been able
fine,
to.
that's fine.
So
that's
that's
a
what I'm
personal
saying, do you
decision.
wanna allow it or not
I just don't think
allow
it needs to be in policy.
Right, I guess.
You have to
Well,
ask
I
them.
mean,
You need to be
if
able
it's
to-
not, if it's specifically excluded in policy as it is now, I can't say, oh, yeah, we can do it. I
Right.
say, no, it's
Remove
not
the
allowed
purpose.
under our
Right,
policy.
it's currently
Excluded,
excluded.
yeah.
So what we're asking is to remove the
I think we
exclusion.
ought to allow it.
Right,
Remove the purple.
yeah, and I agree that that should be allowed.
Anybody have other?
Is there opposition?
Well, Jonah just mentioned something. It's our fault why people can't get their vacations in. Because we don't make them. They know they can come and ask. And apparently they can't make that decision to take their times. And then department heads, if they have employees underneath of them, unless they have.
Extenuating circumstances.
Yes, to that point. So, I can't go there with what you said, Jonah, on that. I guess it's something for, what happens right now, since there is none, what does most employees do? And they're off maternity leave for 9 weeks or more?
Or however many weeks they can. I mean, some will take less time because they don't have leave to cover it.
Okay.
They will, we do have a short-term disability policy that they can buy, but they have to sign up for it before they're pregnant, okay?
Yeah,
So
okay.
it may be unexpected,
Right.
I mean, because they won't issue it if it's an existing
Right.
condition.
Okay, that's understandable, okay.
So they can, some people
Do it
do
2
that,
months ahead
like,
of time.
and then they can receive a portion of their wage through short-term disability benefit.
Yeah.
But they're still short the rest, which if we were to allow it on the shared leave as an option, then they could actually receive their whole check, start their family and not be, short and struggling. So,
That's something,
and if it's people don't have to donate to anybody. If
Right,
they want
right.
to donate, then
Right.
they could, if you
I'd
remove the
say then
exclusion.
leave it open if somebody wants to share with,
Yeah, remove the exclusion,
Is everybody okay
that's
with
not something that we need to
removing
stand
that?
for in
Okay.
way of.
majority.
Okay,
well, Dave said, really drives it home for me, because it's typically the people who've been around a while have the vacation stored up, and the people that haven't been around quite as long don't have it stored up. So typically, the person who's been around longer has got the higher wage, and they're donating that to a lower wage.
Mhm.
And
it's
one-
it makes budget sense.
and one thing that if they're already receiving either work comp or a disability benefit, we don't allow the whole amount of donation. We only allow the difference between the benefit they're receiving and what they would normally get. So, we would use enough hours of the donated leave to cover that shortage.
But if a person has pregnancy during the year and some sickness through the year, pretty soon, you're gonna have a person off more than they're working. It's happened before. So, keep that in mind, how much you're creating.
We had a good breaking point.
Yes, I think.
All right, let's end the work session. We'll be back for a regular meeting at 12:30. This is 8 minutes.
Okay.
Is my other one officially dead?
Just one
That's what
second.
I asked too. I keep leaving mine because I'm.
No, I've got mine, but it's not working. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Sorry.
Kent, 7 up. Dr. Pepper, root beer.
Root beer, need a beer.
You got yours.
Need some money?
Two.
Recorded.
All right, welcome to Marion County Commission meeting, June 5th, 2023. We had a work session this morning on employee handbooks, so we did the flag salute at that time. We'll move into public forum. There's no one in the office. Is there anyone online wishing to make public comments? Oh, we do. All right, Mr. Dalkey, what do you have to say?
After the Florence race, what, a week and a half ago or so, had some citizens from that area contact me, and I think next year we need to have some thorough discussion on roads and things like that that's being affected by the program. So some of our people out there still got to do their farm work, still got to do things, and had a little run in, and now they're pretty upset. So we need to do a thorough investigation next year, and it's not okay for that. And they want me to pass that on. As of right now, that's enough, but they definitely want some improvement for next year. So thank you.
All right, any other public comments? If not, we'll move into the agenda approval. Any additions or changes to the agenda? If not, we'll move into administrative business.
Okay. I have the minutes of payday, May 31st.
Okay, commission's had a chance to review the minutes. Any changes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion Commissioner Becker, is there a second?
second.
Second Commissioner Gehring, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you. Do you have some change orders today?
I got trustee.
You got one?
Here, Rich.
Just stick it together.
No, I'm just looking at what happened.
Oh.
go down, one goes up. Because you gotta address the Scully partners instead of the leases being called the Scully. I've got the Scully 28, so I don't have the 1 or 3.
Okay, we got the change orders.
Okay. Thank you. We do have early checks. The information was in your packet.
Any-
Does anybody want to look at any vouchers or do you have questions?
If there's no questions, is there a motion to approve payday in the amount of $32,726.75?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Crowfoot, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Just doing a quick double check, make sure neither one of us are wrong.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
It'd be really bad if you made the motion in a second.
But not there.
There she is.
Now we can start.
Your first part.
Woman of the hour, the hour has passed.
10.
Okay, next.
Okay, we had a chemical bid in your packet for Remedy
Oh,
on
yeah.
behalf of Josh.
What's that?
Okay, there's a,
Nutrient and Van Dyson.
yes, Nutrient bid of $11,076.48 and Van Dyce $11,210.88.
I'll go with his recommendation, Nutrient.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gearing, second by Commissioner Becker to go with the recommendation of Nutrient, $11,076.48. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay. In your packet, we have the agreement for the downstream slope repair. I have run this by the project engineer and the contractor, and they were good with it as it stands here. I believe I sent it to the county councilor, haven't heard anything on that front yet, so I don't know if you want to approve or do you want to wait for review or?
Make a motion to allow the chairman to sign, based on staff review.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Marion County Park and Lake Downstream Slope Repair Agreement. Commissioner Gearing, is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay. Sorry, I got so many papers in
A lot of
here.
paper.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. You asked for the fireworks information to be put in the packet. So what is in here is last year's, and then a worksheet for you to fill out for this year. And I don't know if you wanna give it some thought, or if you're ready to determine what those hours should be. Or we can come back to it later.
I didn't hear any complaints last year, so I'll just stick with last year's.
Now, the city of Marion's doing July 1st to July 5th. Now, some sell them and shoot them.
Other places. Randy, where?
Some towns are still doing that, going to 1 to 4 or 5, whatever they want, but most places are open 27th through the 4th.
That's what I think, we stay with what we.
That's a state law. That's open, but towns can do.
Town can be more restrictive.
Yes, it can. Yeah.
Obviously, they got more structures to worry about.
Did you keep your stand open till midnight?
Not very much. 4th, the night before and the 4th, those are the 2 nights.
That's what I was saying.
There's 2 nights.
Yeah.
Let the vendors figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we stick with the same hours, same dates as last year.
Okay. Second. I have a motion from Commissioner Gearing, second by Commissioner Dodd. Discussion.
This for.
This is for the county, outside of city limits. Question?
No, I'm just looking at the dates.
Okay.
Don't.
There's no other discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay.
Night before the 4th.
That's not for you, so I'm just trying to get through my
That's
stuff.
the only one.
can take it.
Really.
Yeah, that's okay.
Most of the
That's
rest
big
of the
wrecks.
time, 11 o'clock.
That's a big day, right?
Yeah.
It's usually on the 4th there.
4th too, if there's
And the lake,
after the show.
the lake's doing this on Saturday, the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Sit on my porch and watch it.
The other thing that I had on my list as a discussion item was the ARPA funding, and I had just reached out to see what what our consultant thought about the potential clawback of
Right.
ARPA funding, and they're just keeping an eye on it right now. We don't know what's gonna happen as far as if they can pull back any funds that have already been dispersed to local governmental units or not, so.
Sure, sure interesting when they brought it up.
So I did want to mention to you that we have received all of our ARPA funding for the American Rescue Plan. You all have officially voted and designated the majority of it, for projects, and like we've already ordered the ambulance and different things. There is that 900 and some odd thousand that you have not specifically voted on the amount for the health department, which you had tentatively set it for that, but you've not actually taken formal action on that part. And so potentially maybe at the next meeting, you may want to consider taking some official action to specifically designate that. So it's shown in the minutes. And then also, you might remember I applied for LATCF, local and tribal, I don't remember all of the
Yes.
acronym.
We know what you're talking about.
But it was 2 payments of $50,000 each.
Right.
And so we have 50,000. The other payment has not been issued yet, and it may not be. But that 50,000 the board has not designated the use for those funds. So that would be something to also keep in mind.
What's the appropriate use for it?
Pardon me?
What's the appropriate use for it?
Really, it can be used for operations. It doesn't, it's less restrictive than the ARPA funds, so.
Well, why don't we take action on that next week, or bring recommendations for next week?
It's just on operations. Can we just take an action?
Well, let's wait till next
Okay.
week.
I'll get you the actual amounts, and I'll look for the language on that LATCF as far as what the allowed uses are.
Is there a payment date in the future if this shows up?
The last one just showed up
Okay.
after I applied for it. And that may be part of what they may not be
So
issuing.
could, on that, could it just be designated for general uses and deposited in the general fund?
It potentially could be. I'll double check that wording. Or you could make that motion if that's what you want to do today, and then
That way
subject
you-
to
That way you've,
program requirements and review
if
or
that,
something.
if that means we've encumbered it, I'd say we go ahead and do it.
Well, how about we find out for sure and then take the action next week? I mean, nothing's gonna happen within 1 week.
Okay,
I'm just asking, that was the decision of the commission, that's my
Okay.
opinion.
Oh,
If you wanna take action this week, that's the commission's decision.
If I'm the only one that wants to take action,
Well,
I'll hold off.
I'm not afraid to take action. I just, if we know where it needs to go, let's get it done.
I mean, we haven't designated where it goes, but
You're talking about the,
what you're talking about, ARPA
50,000.
funds?
not ARPA.
No.
The
Yeah,
50,000,
That's what,
yeah,
that's what I was
LATCF.
talking about, 50,000 or whatever that
it's
amount is.
50,000 right now, yeah.
That we can designate it for general operations
Make it a
and
motion.
encumber.
Make it a motion.
I'll make a motion that we encumber the, what was the acronym?
LATCF.
LATCF, for general operations.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Becker, second by Commissioner Garing. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Nay. 4 in favor, 1 opposed. All right, anything else under administrative?
That's all I have.
All right, Steve? Hello, Steve Hudson.
Hello.
All right, Steve. We'd like to go into a 15-minute executive session for personnel performance. Steve? I move that we recess to executive session in order to discuss personnel performance pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel performance. Commission, Steve and Tina for 15 minutes from 12:50 to 1:05.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garing. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We'll be back at 1:05.
Purchase around something to eat and go.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're out of executive session. No decisions made. With that, we'll move into the next agenda item. We have just a couple gentlemen here. We're excited to hear about you. Come up to the microphone, please. Pull another chair up.
Sure.
Because we do have people online. And if you could speak into the microphone, that would really help the rest of the people.
Absolutely. So, Five Broadband is participating in the Kansas Link program, spelled LINC. It provides funds to build fiber to underserved areas, and we're here to ask the commission for support. No money, nothing like that. We're just wanting a letter of support saying you would support Five's application for that. Our particular application is going to cover the city of Lehigh. That's what we're wanting to build as a connection between Hillsborough and Lehigh. And that's the long story short.
Okay, we appreciate you included the map in our packet. Any assistance that can get out to our communities that are underserved is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical.
One of the things that we've recently invoked, we started our own investment into East Shore. So we've just approved our own internal funding, not from anybody else, but Five should pay 100% of it to build from Marion to East Shore.
Okay.
So our construction coordinator should be in today to start applying for permits.
Excellent.
So I've already had a conversation with Brad out there at East Shore, and they're excited for us to come. So
Yes.
So that is coming. It's hopefully, don't quote me here, we should be done in 45 days.
Wow, that's
So-
great news. That community will really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is that a fiber line?
Yeah, it'll be a fiber line. So everything that we're building from now on, we're trying to go to fiber.
So is your monthly fees compete with what's out there now?
Oh, and yeah, that blows them out of the water. Our monthly fees for our fiber versus our coax is the same. So there's no difference. So 100 meg internet's about $30 right now, plus taxes and fees.
Sounds good.
So that's our 100 megs.
What's the deadline for your, for the letter of support? Do you
Well,
need it?
we need to turn it in no later than the 16th of June. But the sooner the better, because we set it up in an application process, and we have our legal department review it, make sure we cross our T's, dot our I's. So.
Okay. And if we approve it, we'd have Tina draft that, we'd sign it at the next meeting, which would be the 12th.
That's right.
What is the, so on your map, you've got a little space between pink and yellow.
Yeah.
Why?
So, we cannot ask for funding into a served area. So served is
So you
anything.
can't butt right to it?
Can't butt right up to it, because then it gets miscommunicated and somebody will challenge it, and it usually gets caught. So we try to leave a little gap, and then notice that gap doesn't exclude any homes.
Okay. No, I seen it goes over the vet, it goes over.
So we actually currently serve the vet, we can go all the way out that way if they chose. But there's I think there's a 200 feet I gapped in there, and we don't exclude any homes, I just did it so we don't get challenged with the cost.
Very good. So who's the applicant for the grant? You or the city of Lehigh?
Let's say that again?
Under this grant, is the company the applicant or is the city of Lehigh?
The company is the applicant, and we've already spoke with the city of Lehigh, at Kimball Unruh, and, you know, they fully support us also. But yeah, Vive is applying for the grant, not the city.
Do you have any future plans? That part of the county is very underserved.
You know, there's a new program coming out next year called the BEAD program. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's gonna be some more funding for that, and I would love to come with the commission and you give me the ideas where to go. You tell me where you'd like to see us go next, and we can build an application package around what you would like.
Yeah.
We're happy to do all the work, and we'll fund it on our side.
Well, I spoke with the mayor of Durham, which is north of there.
Mm-hmm.
And when Tri-County put in all the fiber on the east side of the county down to Marion, they had to make a loop, and it comes within a half mile of Durham.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, they never approached the community about providing service. I thought maybe they had, so I went direct to the mayor, and he said no. So, there is no service from, well, basically Lehigh north over to 15.
So
Maybe past 15. How far does Tri-County go west, do you know that?
I don't know the matter.
So one of the things that we did look at, so we can't apply for a grant for somewhere that's already served, or it's already had approved grant money. Durham had approved grant money, and
I was thinking they did too.
they have approved grant money. Vibe is very aggressive with our build plans. We're not gonna start something we can't finish in 6 months. So, but TCT or TCW, I can't speak for them. I don't know what their build timelines are. But ours are fairly aggressive, so if we were going to get this grant approved, almost the same week as we get it approved, we'd start building. So, we don't like a bunch of gaps. So, yeah, I would love to go up to Durham. I mean, maybe I can go speak with their mayor, or I can give you my card and give them my contact. We'd love to go build over there.
In fact, he said that the city council there would love to meet with you.
Oh, great. We can do that. I'm gonna go through there.
First Tuesday after the first Monday.
First Tuesday after the first
That's
Monday.
when it's always been that way, first Tuesday after the first Monday.
Okay.
I think it was set that way in 1883.
So tomorrow the meeting then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be tomorrow.
Well, I'm gonna get with them and see what we can do.
yeah, they meet at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock tonight?
No,
Tomorrow
7
night.
o'clock, tomorrow night.
Can you get them?
Yeah. Once you get them. I got a meeting in Colby, Kansas. We're gonna build Colby, Kansas also. So I've already committed to that meeting, but if you can be here at being Durham, I'll help you set that up.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Commissioner Dalkey been patiently waiting.
And if you've got a card, I could take it in there and introduce you to them.
Perfect.
All right, now what?
What all towns in Marion County do you serve?
So, don't quote me here, I'm gonna do my memory here, but
Okay.
Marion, Hillsborough, we're gonna be East Shore, and then hopefully Lehigh. Now, we do have, I don't know if Burns or Florence are technically in Marion County, but we do service those.
Yes.
Aren't you?
And Peabody.
Pretty important town out.
Peabody, I'm sorry.
That's
yeah.
where it is.
Peabody, we do serve Peabody, yes, and, so Walton's one I'd like to build out of Peabody. I know that's not in the county.
Right.
But, we've looked at some different grant opportunities to go to the rural areas, so just north of Peabody, there's those homes, and I call them 3 fingers, there's 3 roads that go up north out of it. So I've got some design plans that I've looked at to build north from Peabody up through, there's another little city north of Peabody, about 8 miles.
Canada.
There you go.
Yeah, Ollie, okay.
So I have some preliminary design plans, they're not in that phase yet, but we've looked at them.
I don't know your room for improvement, but it has improved since you guys took over. I mean, I realize you guys come and I'm very appreciative you did come down, because Cox, out the door they went, and there's been some adjustments, but don't forget to upgrade us. I mean, that's one thing that here, it's been 2 months ago, we was having some problems with that, but it was a few days there, it was in and out and all kinds of things on the screens and sometimes it's the channels, correct? It's
Yes.
not just Vibe, it is the channels that do that
to
too.
the networks.
Yeah, so, but don't forget to upgrade.
Absolutely
That's-
not. So I don't know if you're aware, but we did do a full 1 gigahertz upgrade on that cable plant there about a
Yep.
year ago.
Yep.
That allowed the gig speeds.
Okay.
And we did build a new fiber route from our head end down to the downtown to do the library and some other things.
Yep.
So we are always looking to upgrade, and we want to keep you at the same state as the big cities. And one of the next upgrades coming out is going to be a DOCSIS 4 technology. I can't speak to when we're going to do that, but as soon as it's lab tested and ready, we're the type of company that's going to roll that out.
And that's your head and tail end equipment,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't change the fiber in the ground.
No, doesn't change any of that. So it upgrades the speeds, but have to do the massive infrastructure updates.
Okay, but the Peabody is all overhead.
Right, it is all overhead, but that same cable can take a lot of this new technology. That's why we can offer our prices lower than most, is we
Okay.
can utilize
Well,
that.
I was gonna say, Noctella Commission, they've been cheaper than other brands around, and they've had good service. We're interested. My wife has internet on hers and stuff, but, no, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to see you around and looking. And apparently, how big is Vibe? Because you're going to Colby, Kansas, or where's your base out of, and how do you pick, just like you said, you had to meet certain requirements before you could build? Is that why you're expanding like clear Colby, or? is that-
Well, so Colby's not part of a grant. We're doing that out of our own funds.
Okay.
But what we do is we take a look at the big picture, not necessarily grant funds, but for Colby, for example, their incumbent provider offers 100 megs at $120 a month. So when I can provide that same service for 30, competition is good for the community, right?
Yep.
And so we'll go in and we can both sustain. So that's one of the reasons we looked at that. So like Lehigh, one of our technicians lives there and was telling us, there's nothing there. Well, we started looking at the map, and the FCC came out with that new broadband map. It allows us to see what's served and what's not served. And so looking at that big picture in Kansas, we're trying to strategically go out what's close to us, what we can do at an economical rate, and go from there. That Vibe is in 16 states now. So our headquarters is Shawnee,
Okay.
Oklahoma, and it just got hit by a tornado. I don't know if you all knew that, but we had 100% of our services restored in 10 days. And then we sent drop crews to every house there with no charge to the customers. So we're here for storms. We know what storms can do. So a town like Shawnee restored that fast. But we were proud because when we left, Cox still hadn't restored, and their competitor Blue Peak still hadn't restored.
So the FCC knock out that fake area served portion where at 2 AM they could prove that they could get 100 megs or whatever.
Yeah.
That all got,
It all got nixed.
thank God.
Yeah, so Starlink is a big thing, and yeah, they can serve 200, 300 megs at certain times of day. Another one is AMG or Nextlink or some other wireless providers. I hate to keep name dropping specific companies here.
I've
But-
got my own in mind, so.
So there are wireless companies that can achieve certain service, but their technology is not there yet.
Right.
So consider being served in Kansas standards is having 100 megs download and 20 meg upload.
Okay.
That's considered served. Anything less than that is considered underserved. Underserved is usually eligible for some of our grant applications.
Right.
And then there's unserved, where you don't have anything but cell phone, or HughesNet, or whoever, satellite services. So we look at those areas, and if they're within, our parameters, we're being pretty aggressive. We've built quite a few, and I think I got eight in the pipeline I'm trying to build this month. So.
Good. How about Marion? You gonna upgrade that?
Well, so I was waiting for that. No.
No, you're not, okay.
There is nothing you can do on fiber today that I can't do on my current plant, to include the symmetrical speeds.
I mean, there's on and off all the time.
Well, I would love to take a look at your house then.
I've had crews out there. They've laid 3, 4 lines and
Okay. And it just up and down.
Video or internet?
Internet.
Internet? Okay.
My TV's with DirecTV.
Can you give me your information?
805 South Roosevelt. Yes.
So.
It's all public knowledge anyway. so.
Right, well,
What's your cell number?
so what we do have is we have a network operations center, a geo-redundant one in Hayes, Kansas, and one in Corsicana, Texas. So if a storm takes out one, the other one picks up automatically.
I mean, we got copper line up there is the biggest problem, I think.
Yeah, so,
Oh, you don't have fiber?
No.
well, you have fiber into your neighborhood now. You have fiber into your neighborhood, and Kenny can show you exactly where in your neighborhood
You
it
get
is.
fiber all the way up to your house. Makes it best.
I know.
So, and
It
a
goes all
lot,
the way to my house. It's very.
So nobody hadn't been out for probably a year and a half, but there for about a year and a half, every couple of months it's in a different crew.
okay, so it's been pretty consistent for a little bit? or-
Yeah, sometimes you lose 5 minutes or 2 minutes
Oh,
during the day, at night, just odd times.
odd times. So,
There's no rhyme or reason.
yeah, we need to take a look at that. Like I said, our network operations center monitors all of our nodes now. And if they're off more than, I think, 5 seconds, it gives an alarm.
Yeah,
That-
my
that's
neighbor
special.
does too, both sides of me.
Okay, well, maybe your neighborhood may need an upgrade. If it's that consistent, he's writing it out now, so we'll take a look at that.
I got a principal and a judge.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you. We got a little off topic,
No,
but
you're
thank you.
fine.
No, but that's service, I mean, but
Yeah.
it has been great.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
Cause I'm getting the 200 megs and I've got a kid that plays games.
For someone that works, it works great.
He's happy
Okay, good.
sometimes.
Well, again, thank you for the efforts to bring services, because they are absolutely critical.
Appreciate
to our
it.
community. Absolutely critical.
And to let us know that what your goal is. I mean,
Yes.
some companies don't do that when they come on board. We appreciate that.
Yeah, our goal is that, my ultimate goal is to serve 100% of the county, and I have plans drawn to serve 100% of the county, it's just trying to get it funded.
Right.
It's a big goal.
Very good,
All
thank
right,
you.
thanks, guys. Here, I'll go ahead and leave a couple of my cards for y'all to pass around. So if you want to pass those around, you're welcome to.
But you also don't want to print your names on here, so I have that for
So
them.
you need a motion to give them a letter of recommendation or approval.
Letter of support for the grant, yeah.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Garing to draft a letter of support for provides grant application to serve Lehigh. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We'll have that signed in the next meeting, next week, and get it to you.
Perfect. I appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hate to give you a hard time, but.
No, I like the hard times. Keeps me alive.
Good luck in Colby.
Now
Appreciate
we
it.
had some rain, the ground's softer to dig in now.
Yeah, all the rain helps. It helps. There's a lot of rock out here, and that increases the cost. So,
Well, not Lehigh.
not Lehigh.
It gets softer. that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, you'll have a better time.
Won't be too many rocks over
You
there.
get about, what is it? RS Road, Remington or Sunflower, and then it starts getting real
Yeah,
rocky.
getting real over there. Yeah, I think we're gonna hit some rock going up towards East Shore too. So there's some.
Yeah, you will.
So that's our construction coordinator began to apply for those permits today. So. All right,
Okay, very
appreciate
good.
it. Thank you.
All right, next item is the progress report on the fence. Did any of the commissioners have a chance to go out and look?
I've been online for 2 weeks. That's why I haven't been here. Something wasn't working here when I hook up to this, but that's why I haven't been here.
Okay.
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Are they supposed to be in the process?
Well, I scheduled this because that's what you required in the
Yeah.
resolution, was to have an update today,
Yeah.
so.
But should somebody go ask and see if that's what we want? Why, that's what we can get.
I guess I was leaving it on you, it's your district.
Okay, that's what I'm
I should have
getting at.
called.
I'll go with you.
Okay, well, it shouldn't matter calling Mr. Ince, I believe.
I heard driving down the road, so.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, if that's what we want, I didn't know what we wanted, Dave. Yeah. If that's what we want, why, we'll go out and see. Do we have a time frame set?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
But,
in the resolution, 6 months.
right, but what I'm getting at though, wasn't that dependent on the survey?
Right, there's supposed to be a survey done first. We wouldn't even know if it's done.
Have you heard anything about this?
I've not. I mean, I went ahead and encapsulated that in a letter to him. I can bring that file.
I think
but-
maybe a personal visit then needs to speak with Mr. Ince first, see whether he's
There you
been
go.
contacted. He said he was a fence builder, he said
Right,
he was talking to
right.
Randy.
Right.
And if I get nothing from Mr. Ince,
Yep.
then we need to backdress Mr.
Yep.
Randy Hudson.
Yeah.
Sounds
Just
cool.
gonna call him. Phone call and I don't need to go.
Okay, yeah, phone call, work to start with, yeah.
Sounds good.
If there's been nothing, I'd like to know.
Okay, we can do that. Because I still believe we need to keep
Absolutely.
on the idea, but just,
That's why it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
thank you, Tina.
Yep. And it,
Put it back down for next week then.
Yeah.
Yep.
it just says you'll grant an additional 6 months to complete the final needed construction and repairs to achieve needed compliance, and that a survey be undertaken by licensed surveyor to be filed of record to establish proper fence location. And so you probably would be able to check with the Register of Deeds to see if that's been filed.
Okay, I'll do that too.
And it just says, shall be reviewed at a regular session on June 5th.
Okay.
All right. Get our update next week.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Randy. With that, we'll move on to Road and Bridge. Bryce?
What?
Rough day?
Oh.
It's Monday.
All right.
Have a salary sheet for John Neal, new employee. EO2 has a Class A CDL already.
That's good. Okay, in Road and Bridge Blacktop, new equipment operator 2, John Beal, $2,882 a month, effective June 5th.
Some nicer paper.
I know.
She had some heavier grade paper in there for something else. Like, what's this? Oh, so she went and got the rest of them out. That's the same lady going, yeah.
It's official document.
Yes.
I thought it was my glasses.
Transport fuel bids, recommend EP service, 22,110.
Okay, Commission's reviewed the bids. Is there a motion?
Motion to go to recommendation.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Garing to approve the recommendation of EP Service, $22,110. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Walke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, area fuel bid also is a little different this month. EPS was low in area 1 and area 3, and MFA was low in area 2, so I'd recommend that.
EPS get a 1 or 3.
Yes.
MFA is 2.
Yep.
So nobody's got it.
Did you get enough copies of transport around?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to go with area 1 with EPS and area 3 with EPS, area 2 with MFA.
Second. Okay, motion by Commissioner Walke, second by Commissioner Becker. This was for area fuel bids. The previous one was transport fuel bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Alrighty, tomorrow, 5:30 a.m., in case any of you guys want to get out of bed early, we're gonna try to pave the south end of Kansas. So, about 1,000 yards, that's what they're shooting for, so, hoping for
South Country.
concrete
Oh,
portion
okay.
down there by Ag Service.
Looks like we
Yeah, they're gonna,
pave.
yeah.
What?
pave.
Now they're gonna chip seal it.
Yeah, no, well, we can pave the crushed concrete. They are gonna go from just south of the bridge south to the south end. Then they'll move their paver to the north end, hopefully, probably next week, pave from the bridge north. And so while they're waiting for that, the south end cures, and then they're gonna pour in the break in between time. So hopefully within 2 weeks, that south end will be paved out. So, and they're progressing well on the north as far as removals and stuff like that. So,
Okay, Bryce, while you're talking on Kansas there, south down there by Ag Service down in there, south of that, is it quite a bit of rock? Are we doing any, have we put any rock patches or anything down there that was?
not lately.
Not lately?
We put some down over the winter time, but,
Okay.
are they breaking out again?
Well, constituents wants to know where we at, what's the long-range plan on that rest of the road? If we're gonna chip seal it or?
Well, that's what the plan is, but,
Okay.
I mean, we've got, you know, a lot of time blade patching, get down there, do that, and do chip seal on top of that, so it's gonna be a couple months, but they're working their way that
Okay.
way, but, you know, again, that's a commission decision if you wanna continue to do that, keep that as a paved road, so, but,
It's been falling apart, not like the other one where it was a safety hazard.
well, I mean, honestly, it's all the same thing, they, once they have those spots, they're not gonna get that much better,
Doesn't like that.
I mean, but it's not having potholes to sink a car, like
Not- yeah.
the other road.
on Nighthawk, right, right, so, but anyway, that's the plan unless otherwise it's changed, so.
Keep it.
Finally heard from LTAP on the radar trailer. Evidently they're having issues with it downloading data, and they said, well, not that we really wanted to download any data on it. So anyway, they tell me that if they get this fixed done by the end of the week, they're gonna test it out by next week, and so after the 16th of June, we should be able to get it.
Good.
Now, they said that they do have 2 of them that they can mount to like telephone poles and things like that we could use, and I thought, well, that sounds like an awful lot of extra work on our part and liability for putting them up on the poles as compared to just pulling a trailer around and stop. So some of the places we might want to put these, I don't know if we'd have telephone poles or whatever else to put them.
Well,
without putting
really,
them up.
shouldn't you put them on your own post?
I would think so, but anyway, I just thought that was a little too much, and so we would just wait. But evidently, they've been having problems with that processor or whatever it is on there, so.
Okay.
But anyway, so they're still working on it. Doing the work on blade patching 340th. I don't know if you guys saw it on Facebook that they made the decision not to blade patch in and around Lost Springs last week. And they're doing that today and tomorrow because of staying away from the restaurant. I thought that was a very, very good decision to stay away from that, so
Good.
they should be up there right now. Working on 340th going west. Had an interesting deal on the lighted stop signs. We got the lighted stop signs in. We were talking about putting them on 190th and Nighthawk. Larry just happened to set one up, and he says, well, I'm gonna get one of my square tubing and put on top of there to see how that's gonna work. The 24-inch spacing on the back for the bolts is actually 24 5/8. So I think what happened was they went outside to outside on their dimensions instead of center to center. So it won't mount up to a steel post unless you re-drill the holes. It won't mount up to a wood post unless you re-drill the holes. So obviously I contacted the manufacturer, and he just kind of, we'll have to look into that. So we didn't get those put up, but like Larry said, those posts out there are wood. We can re-drill them and probably make them work. But anyway, so that's something to look at for them guys to.
Yeah, Brad should know that.
Well, you know, but it's just, you know, he probably spec'd out 24 inches between there,
Sure.
and that's what they did. And so he said he was gonna go check his tape measure and see if it got put to the dryer or something, a little short.
They're all custom made.
Yeah, so, but anyway, so,
Okay.
we can at least,
Have them start sending the post with it.
oh, yeah, something to that
That's
effect.
part of the sales.
Yeah.
Commissioner Dahlgren.
I was in Fredonia Saturday evening, and their main square downtown all had lighted stop signs with solar on
Yeah.
it.
It's a slick deal.
And they also have crosswalk signs for business crosswalks and things too that was lit up too.
Yeah. It's really no different. The principle's all the same, no matter what sign to make, you know, so. I know they've been around probably 10, 12 years, but they actually had them there for a while where they were actually set into the sign, and it's been quite something, but I think everything else, they keep getting better and better, so. But anyway, that's what we kinda had a funny about that, so. Larry was off all last week and is off all this week as well, but we still intend to get him up, so. Tomorrow is the KDOT cost share announcement. I believe it's set for noon on Facebook with KDOT. That cost share would include ours from Nighthawk or Limestone to Remington. So we'll see if we get that. I don't know. I submitted that bridge on the HRRR project just as a matter of information or whatever else. With all these projects going on and trying to get a transition plan or whatever else, KDOT recommends that we don't. My thought was if we could hire a consultant or maybe two consultants to do all those at one time.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible, but they recommend not putting the federal stuff with the state stuff.
Right.
So the HRRR is federal, as well as the off-system bridge, which is that bridge second one implement. So if we get that information, hopefully next month or so, we get that bridge, we can put those two projects together with one consultant,
Right.
or the same consultant, whatever else. With this whole the QBS, we call it was a qualification-based selection or whatever it is that the feds require, we'd have to go through that process. But the cost share, the economic development, and the local bridge improvement program are all state funds. So we could put all them together as well. So I'm gonna try to work up something, obviously find out if we get the cost share tomorrow. That would be another one we have to do that. So, but anyway.
But just recap for everybody's information. We've already gotten the economic development grant.
Yes.
Gets you to Remington.
Which comes from the east, Highway 77 to Remington.
Right.
4.5 miles, 2 million total project,
Yep.
1 million the county, 1 million state. You announced, or heard last week, we got the HRRR
Right.
from Highway 15 to Nighthawk,
Limestone.
to Limestone for widening structures. And
Right.
and what's the dollar split on that? Because there was an adjustment because of.
Yeah,
the
I think they approved us the full
750.
750,000.
750,000, which was the
Right.
largest of anyone.
Right, right. So then we'll still have to do that one bridge on top of that.
Right.
And then the cost share went from Limestone to
Remington.
through there, and that included the bridges and stuff.
And that was $1 million each, right?
I believe so.
$1 million county, $1 million
I
state.
believe so.
We got 2 million on countywide, wide.
Yeah.
So far, we're approved for the 1,750,000. We have an application in for the bridge, and we have an application in for the road.
And I believe the bridge was 90%?
90%.
90%.
Right. So we're only on the hook for
Right,
10%.
right. So, anyway, I'll try to work up a plan with all that stuff together, so.
Show all the dollars and where we're paying for it out of.
Good. Okay, and the Indigo high-risk railroads, 130th and Indigo, is let June 21st. So we'll find out who that was. Also, I believe that was 90% also. So.
What about the bid letting on 290th?
The economic development.
Economic development.
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna do that, because I come to think about it, if I widen that structure down there by Vista on 290th, I'm gonna have to get a detailed structure plan from KDOT on what the rebar and everything else would need, so I'm still working on that as well. So, otherwise, it's been surveyed, I've done a lot of the culvert work and things like that, so we're still working on that.
All right.
So, anything else? All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bryce. All right, next item on the agenda is Road and Bridge Department Head position description. Gene has provided us with copies.
had a stack on the table that had potentially a proposed draft for Road and Bridge Department Director and Road and Bridge Superintendent, and then you also have, an old position description that says road foreman on it. And then kind of a project, like a department structure list that looks like this. Do you see that, Randy?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. So I did just want to mention that on this list, you know, we have the, we've kind of come here through a process. We used to have, as the department head, a road and bridge superintendent, and then we had a road foreman. And that's this old job description that I gave you. That's back in the past. Later on, you all worked, the individual in charge of the department wanted to redraft the job descriptions, and they changed their road foreman to a road supervisor. And then they added a bridge and culvert supervisor, and then we had a shop supervisor. And so the idea was trying to, I think, lessen the scope of command over sort of like of supervision. Right now, we have existing descriptions for, well, the road and bridge superintendent is kind of, it's basically similar or the same as a road supervisor. We're not using the job description for the road supervisor. And then the bridge and culvert supervisor, we're also not using, we just have a bridge and culvert foreman. And then the road supervisor is basically over, which is the actual road and bridge superintendent, excuse me, is over the equipment operators and basically everybody except the shop supervisor and the mechanics and the office staff. So, so I just was wanting to give you a little bit of kind of background in that, so in case that's helpful. But this old road foreman job description is really similar to what we currently have as road supervisor, and which is actually very similar to our current description for road and bridge superintendent and the draft that I gave you. So I kind of looked at all three of those in compiling the road and bridge superintendent draft, this current one that you have. So. And we can name it whatever you want. I put department director because they're more like just in charge of the whole department, all the resources and everything falls to them. The road and bridge superintendent is more of a technical position, and so to me, superintendent is more technical, hands-on work, and they would be over the staff in the field, basically, and projects. Like, so.
Very good. Questions?
You good with it?
How are you advertising, well, period? Did you guys decide that last week?
No. The first step is we need to get our job descriptions approved. Once we have our job descriptions approved, then
We'll get them to advertise.
right. We'll talk about multiple avenues. There's
One thing, of course, on the superintendent, I need to add the language that's recommended by the consultant as far as on the working conditions and that. I didn't get that finished, but it's the same kind of language that I added at the bottom of the department director. It just basically expands on the physical requirements and the ADA working conditions and all of that, just so we're more up to date with the federal language now. I probably, I didn't think about, probably it would be a good idea to add an essential or a marginal function to the director that basically says that they're in charge of all the road and bridge facilities, like their buildings and facilities, because I didn't want to include that on here.
Yeah. So on road and bridge superintendent, essential functions, adding.
No, it would be on the department director.
Department
Yeah,
director,
sorry. Yeah.
responsible for road and bridge facilities.
Yeah. You all had said you wanted to make sure that we emphasize the interpersonal and customer service type skills. So I did make some kind of major changes on education and experience skills and problem solving. So I want to make sure that you read through all of that really and make sure it reflects what you had in mind. And we can advertise, as long as you decide on what position name you want, we can advertise now, and then you can have a week to review these job descriptions if you want, and then approve them later. It's
I'm
up
good
to
with
you.
director. We got director on the EMS, we got director.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of director.
yeah, I agree.
Me too.
I'm just gonna just have a question under education and
Yeah.
experience. Second sentence, more than 3 years of business administrative experience is required. And then you go down another line and it says more than 3 years of road and bridge maintenance, construction experience preferred.
That's because it's different types of experience.
Okay,
So the one
business
is
administrative.
business or administrative experience is required, and the road and bridge experience is preferred, the 3 years, more than 3 years.
And that makes perfect sense, yes.
I mean, and that's open for,
No,
if you
that's,
wanted
that's
to.
why I wanted the technical side to be the
Right.
deputy and
The required is the administrative
the
business.
administrative side.
Gotta run the business end of it.
Perfect, that helps me understand.
That means you can get the job.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you can.
But that's very well done.
And this does require that, if they don't already have it, that they would have to complete the Kansas Road Scholar Program as soon as they can.
So nowhere in our advertisement or our job description does it talk anything about engineering.
Well, it does talk about engineering and that potentially
Contracting.
contracting, but it doesn't say that it's required for this position to
Right.
be an engineer.
Engineer, it's a bonus.
Well,
And part of what was talked about, I think before, was that potentially creating a separate position if we wanted to add an engineer. That it wouldn't be the department head, but it would be
That's
an
possible.
engineering position.
Yes.
but my point of view is, and I have an advocate, and I think somebody in here knows who I'm talking about very well, is that if an engineer's sitting out here looking to maybe come somewhere, but they see this director title, well, that's not good enough for them. I don't know. I'm just saying, how do we keep our advertising? I'm open either way, but I just say, how do we keep it open so that if an engineer is sitting out here looking to come and replace what we've started, how do we advertise for that and let somebody know that?
Put either or.
I mean, do we
Director
include
or-
it in our advertisement for this position?
Well, that's, in our discussions last week, we were trying to keep the door open, which an engineer can still apply for this position, and that was the point. But we didn't want to limit it in case we had a candidate who
No,
didn't.
right, either way.
So we're trying to keep our doors open.
Yeah,
And you're concerned of how we best word that.
it's tough.
I'm
It's tough.
open. If Tina has any ideas or suggestions.
Yeah.
No shutting that off. No, everybody's
Yeah, everybody gets it, yeah.
All right.
What you use?
It's Amber Alert.
Yeah, no.
I think, I mean, you either go the direction of wanting them to do the engineering piece primarily and ahead of everything else, or you go the direction of wanting them to manage the department ahead of everything else. I think it might be unreasonable to, and I think that's kind of what you have discussed, it might be unreasonable to think that somebody that's gonna be technically focused on engineering aspects is also necessarily going to be proficient at managing the other side of it.
We need a manager first.
An engineer needs to just be an
And so
engineer.
this description is written more focused on the management piece, not on the technical piece. It doesn't exclude someone if they have that technical abilities, as long as they also have the management abilities. If they don't have management abilities, I don't
No.
think they would be qualified for the position as it's written.
Right.
But, that being said, there's nothing saying that you may want to, and it was discussed before, but I didn't have time to separate out and make a separate engineer job description.
Right.
You could have a county engineer under the direction of the manager or the department director that would be responsible for plans and that kind of thing. Or you can contract engineering, as we have for a long time.
So, at this point then, if that's the way we're headed down the road, then we most likely don't wanna hire an engineer tech.
Well, you can hire an engineer or an engineer tech.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If you're thinking of possibly
Well,
doing that,
either way.
then an engineer would maybe fit the engineer tech's position, would probably have a higher
Right.
pay grade. But anyway, I'm just trying to, I don't wanna shut the doors out, because the door's pretty skinny. And if we get any possibilities, I'd like to at least look at them anyway.
Absolutely.
Could you put engineering qualifications helpful in that, as a way of wording to any of that, or no?
What Tina's saying is you go one way or the other first, and
Right.
you just, yeah.
Because I think in most cases, people who have a focus on the business part and the personnel management and the finance management and all of that
Find
aren't
the money.
necessarily gonna have the technical skills. They need to have according to this, they need to have like a basic, a good knowledge of construction and or that world, but not necessarily be an expert on how to build a road.
Yeah, not know how to run a piece of equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how to take care of the checkbook.
But,
But
I
they
mean,
need-
they
they
do
need all those
they
people
do
to lean
need to
on.
be well-rounded and have
Mhm.
knowledge about it in general.
So the key is getting the applicant in the door, the good applicants.
Mhm.
Well, and if there's, I'm sorry,
No,
if
we're
there's,
good.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
If there is an applicant that has that qualification, but also is able to do the other side of it, they should apply,
Yeah.
for sure.
Tell them to go ahead and apply.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
This should appeal more to the road bosses, the deputies,
Yeah.
and you would hope that it would
Yes.
maybe open up the door to, well, oh, I can apply for that, or, you know.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions on the Road and Bridge Department Director job description? That's how we handle them. We need to do both, but do each separate. Okay. Any other questions on Road and Bridge Department Director? If not, is there a motion to approve the new job description?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Commissioner Crowfoot, discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. Advertising would be, there's a number of statewide journals, Kansas Association of Counties, newspapers. Mr. Dalkey, you had specific questions, any additions you want to make to the advertising?
No, I don't think it's gonna be for the first step here, I don't believe we might see an engineer apply. We might.
Yep.
Hopefully we do.
Main thing is we didn't close the door.
Any
Right.
publication that will hit every county in the state.
Yeah, get the word out. All right, next one is Road and Bridge Superintendent.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gehring to approve the Road and Bridge Superintendent job description. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Question?
Superintendent is Steve.
Don't need to advertise.
Just clarifying that
Joe's been filled.
we didn't create a new position. We
named
might
Right, and
rename one.
at some point, maybe after you have a new director in place, you probably want to look at the structure of the department
Yes.
and potentially consider getting rid of some of these like
Yes.
redundant positions that aren't being used.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I think
So
I've already done that.
we need to get rid of this one? Or is it,
Which one's?
road foreman?
That's an old one, we're not using it
Not using
anymore.
it
I
now.
just provided that for
Okay.
reference because that used to be like the second in command.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to get rid of road supervisor?
Probably.
Bridge
Get
culvert?
And the
Confused.
bridge culvert supervisor,
Okay.
potentially.
But that allows the new department director to structure
And
as they feel.
Kind of look at it first and see if maybe it needs tweaked or just,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know that you need to do it today.
Very good. Well, Tina, we appreciate the work you put into that.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
for
you.
sure.
I
Trying to-
apologize for not having it to you in the packet, but that was a lot more than,
Trying to
than I
get
thought.
There you go.
all these
I didn't
different
get paid.
opinions together. You did a very, very good
Should be
job.
an account, which one I got to first.
We also had a filing deadline for the upcoming city school
Oh, that's right.
election and this last week, and I have to send preliminary values and build taxes to all the adjoining counties for the budget process,
Mhm.
so. it
And
was
we
a-
start the budget
It was
process.
a really busy week last week, so.
You did a good job getting all the spots filled too, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we still have a few
Still one or
open
two,
seats,
but-
but we don't have any primaries. We had a few positions that came really close to having a primary, but there is no primary, so,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Very good. Well, again, thank you for all your work, Tina.
You're
It's
welcome.
Greatly appreciated. April, welcome.
Perfect timing, I
Yeah,
can
it
brag, I
is.
can brag on Tina.
Oh, geez.
Andy's
I
out.
may have to leave the room.
Oh, it's nothing they haven't already heard.
We know.
You're very fortunate.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Hope you pay her enough.
She loves it enough, that's all.
It's the public service, isn't it?
Her heart's in it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And-
Nope, about handed it to you upside down. And I'll give you all the rest, except I'll hang on to one until I'm finished. Thank you. So, may I just sit here? or is that
Yes,
all right?
right here.
If you don't.
Right up here.
By the
All
microphone.
right.
We have people online, so.
All right.
Just speak into the microphone.
I did hear a person call me and said, didn't hear a thing on 2 weeks ago at our meeting. None of us on the,
There was an issue at the very beginning.
okay, I don't know.
Tina
That
took
was-
care of it at the beginning.
That was a comment, so I don't know.
That was just, there was a comment back at the very beginning of the meeting
Okay.
that was taken care of. All right, April.
Thank you. April Swartz, one of the owners at Barney & Associates. It was a pleasure to work with Tina again. This was our first year on the new contract that you awarded our firm. We were very grateful for that. Luckily, we did not have to do a single audit this year. You did spend some ARPA money, so we had to do a little extra procedure it's just called a special procedure, a lot less invasive than what would have been with a single audit. But we did perform that work while we did the audit itself.
Very good.
So the letter that's been handed to you is the governance letter. It's also referred to as a required communication letter. This letter basically at the beginning sets out the fact that the financial statement responsibility sits with you and with Tina, and our job as auditors is to issue an opinion on whether we feel they're fairly stated. So we do feel they're fairly stated. It is a clean opinion, and this is a clean governance letter. Also in this letter, we would identify any journal entries that we found that we would propose to be made, and there were none this year. So again, the numbers that are presented to you today are the same numbers Tina would have presented to you at the end of the year. And then finally on the last page, we did make one observation. The bank reconciliations for the motor vehicle account were not done monthly. You had some transition, you've had some illness, we understand all of that. And that bank statement doesn't cut off at the end of a month. So we are recommending maybe you just visit with the bank and get it to cut off at the end of the month and then make sure someone is reconciling that monthly.
Good. Very good.
All right, the actual audit itself, if you'll turn to pages 1 and 2, actually 1, 2, and 3, this is the auditor's opinion. So again, your county operates under the KMAG regulatory basis. So it's essentially the cash basis modified by any encumbrances you might have at year end. So when you read down through the opinion, the first paragraph talks about adverse and unmodified opinions. It's weird wording, it's always been weird wording, but if you get to the third paragraph, it says, in our opinion, the financial statement is fairly presented in all material respects on the KMAG basis of the county. So the first two are saying it's not GAAP. Well, we know it's not GAAP, but third paragraph says it's clean. So again, this opinion, it would be the same as last year. Clean opinion, no issues or concerns. If you'll turn to pages 4 and 5, this is actually the financial statement for Marion County for the year ended December 31, 2022. Down the left-hand column of the statement are the funds that your county uses to track your activity. The first column is your beginning unencumbered cash, receipts by fund, expenditures by fund, ending unencumbered cash, which is what you need for your budget that I hear you're getting ready to start on. We add back any outstanding encumbrances and accounts payable to give you your ending reconciled bank balance. So then if you'll turn to page 5, you can see the grand totals there at the bottom. The county started the year with $15.7 million. You collected about $27 million. You expended about $23 million, leaving you with $20 million unencumbered cash at the end of the year. If you look there at the bottom section, that shows you where the cash is, in which banks, and what other investment tools you're using. So most of your money's in local banks, in time accounts, demand accounts, CDs, and then you did have about $863,000 invested with the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. So we talked about having $20 million. That subtotal there of cash is $32.5. But of that, $12,288,000 belongs to others. So that's money you've collected on behalf of the school districts, the townships, the cities, that you will be remitting to them in January.
Right. Just a note on the unencumbered cash beginning and ending, there's like a $5 million difference. I'd say a large portion of that's probably due to our bond receipt, which we hadn't expended yet at that time.
Right.
So
And you would have gotten your second half of ARPA, and you didn't spend all of your
So
ARPA
next year,
yet.
we're probably gonna see a large starting and a much smaller ending.
Exactly. It's all timing when you're on the
All timing.
regulatory cash basis,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
just wanted to check that out. Okay.
All right, the next several pages are the footnotes to the financials, which I will not read to you. There are no new notes this year, so they're all notes you're familiar with. If you'll turn to page 9, 9 is the summary of the debt of the county as of the end of the year. You can see that you have two bonds. You have a little dab left on your 2017 bond, about $62,000 remaining. That may have been paid off by now. And then your new Series 22 bond that was issued during 22 of $5 million. So there's your two bonds. And then down below are all the leases, capital leases that your county has, mostly related to equipment for road and bridge, and then your transfer station lease purchase. All payments were made timely and in accordance with amortization and payment schedules. And then you can see over there to the far left, the amount of interest paid by the county for the year was $62,332. A very small number for a county your size, I'll point out. All right, the next page gives you the maturities on all of that debt. So you can see the next 5 years individually, and then buckets of 5 years for the remaining maturities of the debt. All right, more notes. Let me see, I want to have you turn to page 15. This is where we demonstrate the county's compliance with the Kansas budget law. And you will see as you go down the far right-hand column of this, all of the variances are in brackets, so you were under budget in all of your funds. So there were no violations this year of any kind, statutory, no cash violations, no budget violations. This just shows you each fund, the total that was approved in the budget to be spent. So the total for all the funds was $34,795,000, and the county spent $21,568,000 with a under budget of $13,227,000. Then we'll look at the general fund. The general fund is the largest fund of the county, and so it has multiple pages. And then I won't go through the other funds that are at the back, but we'll just walk through kind of how it's set up. So we show your prior year actual. So on page 16, we start with receipts. This is the general fund, and it shows you the various receipts that you receive. You can see the biggest one is your ad valorem, of course. So if you slide on down through, you can see on Page 17 is your grand total for receipts. You budgeted to receive $5,504,000 in total receipts, and you received $6,345,000, which is expected. We always expect you to budget conservatively on the revenue side, and then that way you come in, you're in good shape on the budget at the end of the year. I was gonna look and see where the big ones, you had local sales tax, R&B, that was up quite a bit over budget. But again, you budget conservatively because you don't know what the economy is going to do. It has picked up obviously since post-COVID. I think we're post-COVID, I hope. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Starting on page 18 and then running all the way through 21 are the departments of the county. So the other funds, most of them don't have departments, but the county, the general fund does. So you start off, I always pick on the commissioners, I know I always do. So total county commissioner budget was $97,480 and you spent $96,578, so you're under budget $902. So then as you just go down through, you'll see there are some categories. Well, there will be over budget by department, but that's not a violation. The budget law applies to the fund in total. And so if you go to page 20 or page 21, this is the grand total. Shows you the grand total budget for the general fund was $7,582,540. That next, the farthest right number, next to the farthest right there at the bottom. And you only expended $6,011,000, so you were under budget $1.5 million in your general fund. So as I stated, all the funds on that first page are all back here on their own page. So page 22 is your ambulance fund, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see we present the same information for each fund so that you can see the detail of what happened in those funds. Those are budgeted funds, and then I'll give you an example. If you'll turn to page 29, 29 is an example of a non-budgeted fund. So in these, on this report for the non-budgeted funds, you will only have the actual. So you'll have prior year actual and current year actual. That's why those look a little different. And then finally, if you will turn to page 62, on the very front page when I said you're going to subtract that $12 million, page 62 gives you a total of what that $12,288,000 that you owe to others, what it's comprised of. So you can see there at the bottom, $12,288,000. These are funds that have been collected on behalf of others that will be then remitted out. And then at the very bottom, you have a few little accounts, law library, sheriff's office, special auto fund that sit down here below. And again, that money is for uses outside of the county. Any questions?
Special auto, is that under the
Treasurer.
Treasurer?
But that is a special bank account. It's for specific things. So
Right.
it doesn't fall under the normal bank accounts and how they are presented on the financial statement. And that's the account that we were visiting about, that the reconciliations weren't done each month. And we didn't find any errors or any problem with it. It's just a best practice to make sure we do that. Gotta find something. Now, we did a lot of it again ahead of time, and then we came out, and 4 of us came out and spent a day with Tina to go through the things here on site and to work with the ladies in her office and in the treasurer's office. And we did review the ARPA funds, the expenditure of the ARPA monies as well. Any questions? If you have any later, because I know you're all going to go home and read every page.
Yeah, every page of it.
Do not hesitate to reach out with questions.
Okay.
Our fee covers.
It's handy when we start budgeting.
Yeah, and we wanted you to have it. Believe it or not, we have all our counties done ahead of the June rush. So Scott emailed me and said, "Any chance I could get a draft of Marion?" And then he said, "Ignore that. I have the final." I'm like, "Yeah, finally, I'm ahead of the."
Yeah, I sent it to them already.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you later.
I believe that
Everybody's
we
done.
typically,
That's a lot of numbers to go through in 10 minutes.
yeah.
Tina's been working months.
I believe we typically have a motion and a vote to accept the financials.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garing to accept the audit. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Crowfoot. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
No discussion.
No.
I didn't read any questions in the group. You had your chance.
Everything was good, there's no discussion.
Yeah, let's not.
That's what you
let's
call a
not taint a good-
balanced budget. Some of our comrades around the country don't believe in that.
That's right.
Yeah, I was gonna ask her on a couple of them. I said, I just leave it alone, Randy.
You got her number. You can
And
give her-
Yeah.
if you have questions, about the numbers, I can help with that as well.
Okay. I'm gonna take 30 seconds just to stand and stretch, if that's all right.
Thank God, I just cramped.
That's what I thought I noticed. You're the youngest one.
Oh.
I'm glad somebody else gets some Charlies.
Oh. I was trying to roll the chair around and it just locked up.
Bunch of moaning down on his end.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Scare the mice away.
Are you planning to take any action in the next 3
Careful.
minutes?
No, we're gonna turn it over to
We're gonna
Brad,
go to
so it's
Brad.
gonna be executive.
Oh, okay, well, that's an action to go into executive, but
that's true.
can you wait till?
We'll wait till you get back, we'll stretch.
Let's take a recess.
Do you want a couple minutes?
Sure.
Let's take 5.
Let's take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back in 5 minutes. I think it's a good idea.
I gotta walk down the hallway, I don't know what happened. Oh, damn.
Didn't eat your vegetables.
I guess.
Put your wife got Wi-Fi at home? You don't work on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Need her
I just need to-
spinach today.
Beanie?
Oh, go to the settings and ask what the password is.
What the password is, yeah, I'll see if she
It
gets
just should tell you the password.
Yeah. She may not let me have it.
It'd be faster than
Yeah.
a little thing probably.
That's probably a good idea.
I'm anxious to see what the new one is.
So it worked out good for him. I'm gonna have to.
This conference will now be recorded.
He's here. We're out of our recess, but we have to get 2 commissioners back in the room, so bear with us. Here real quick, like, and I'll just take a stretch.
I'll let you get in there, sir.
I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Is everything on your list there?
So that worked out pretty good. You got to take care of a phone call.
Yeah, it did open.
All right, we got everybody back. Recess is over. Let's get down to business. Brad, what do you have for us?
Let's do executive sessions. I know that's rare.
You've never done an executive
Yeah, I
session.
know, it's kind of an unusual thing.
What topic?
Litigation.
Okay. And how long?
So we've got 1,
You don't tell us how many.
2, 15 minutes, I think. Would be okay.
I move we recess an executive session in order to discuss litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item 2, consultation with our attorney-client privilege with the commission, Brad Tina, for 15 minutes, 2:20 to 2:35.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried. We'll be back at 2:35 in this room.
Now be recorded.
Out of executive session. Decisions made. What's going on in the hallway? What do you have for us next?
A couple of other things related to some of the things that have happened recently. There's a countywide animal control issues.
Yes.
I went back over what we have and don't have and what's statutorily available and what we can do. If you have an interest in developing some legislation, I'm going to call it that in a general sense, we do have the ability to go ahead and do that. If you want me to kind of prep a few things based upon talking with law enforcement about what they encounter and what tools would be helpful to them, And then I can also give you some attendant costs, because in certain circumstances, if there's a need to confiscate, or deal with an animal in some fashion, then we get into some expense fairly quickly, just like the cities.
Well, we were still moving forward on the cattle, weren't we?
Yes.
Okay, so we're still moving forward on the cattle being out issue. But most counties tie that together with all animals.
Yes.
being on the loose. So the question then to the commission is, do you want to include more in that resolution? Or just keep it to cattle?
The cattle.
Well, I mean, what do you do? You got a farm dog, you wander about 3-4 miles from the house, it's still not within its perimeter.
He is. No, it's not so much that, it's more, the one that's more common is vicious animal. And a lot of the reason for it is because if it happens in town, then they're rehomed. And if they don't go to a no-kill shelter or something like that, or they're not put down, usually what they do is take them out to the friend's farm. Well, all that does in many cases, or some cases, is passes the problem on. We have areas, such as the lake, where it would fit that purpose, because it's out in the county, but there's an awful lot of people that walk, and there's a lot of people out there who use for recreation, obviously, and so they encounter the same animals. And I periodically get that call, and we've had some of those recently. So as part of this, I guess I want to know, do you want a little more?
We couldn't have a leash law just designating that, it'd affect the whole county.
No, you'd have to do it through the zoning. You'd have to do it
Yeah.
through whatever that district is called.
Yes.
I'm not in favor.
Improvement district. Then it would be left up to the improvement
You can't
district,
spot.
right? They have their own elected board. But they-
But
There are some things that you can do for, a prohibition countywide, for example, people won't like this, on dogs that have a certain percentage in terms of lineage of wolf in them. That comes up, more than 10%, some cities more
How
than
do you,
10%.
how do you prove that?
Yeah.
No different than how do you prove it's a pit bull?
Was this incident though, was out of the county lake, wasn't it? And it was a shepherd, according to the paper report or
She
something
did.
like that? Wasn't that what I
So
read?
how, okay, go ahead, I mean.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just saying, so there was a cattle dog apparently that,
I think so.
yeah. Would that, how would that rule affected that incident?
Basically, what it does is gives, they can anyway, but they do it in a different way. It's not as directly applicable. Law enforcement would have a little more teeth in terms of what they do with the animal, how they react to it, what they do in terms of taking the animal and placing it, for safekeeping into custody, than we have right now.
Some
Some
vets
counties
have-
do it, and it tends to be, if you get to a Johnson County, there isn't any question they do it for obvious reasons, because they're so highly urbanized.
Yeah.
We're not, so I'm ambivalent, I'm just throwing it out there, so I know, because we're dealing with the cattle issue anyway.
So other than incorporating, there's really no way they could have a leash law.
They could.
They can do, well, as long as they're a recognized entity with some ability to enforce. It's kind of like a new housing development with their restrictive covenants, sort of like that.
Does an improvement district have statutory authority to regulate?
I would-
Safety, health, welfare.
I would think
yes,
so.
and to some degree.
Who's gonna enforce it?
They have to figure that out.
Then you
That's
gotta have a
where-
dog
They'll have to
catcher.
elect them a sheriff.
That's where, peace officer, or us, they have to kind of,
Before government passes regulations, has to fund it.
yeah.
Unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
Unfunded mandate, yeah. That has
I'm
come
not-
from Topeka, Washington.
Unless the sheriff comes over and says he needs us to do something, I don't think I'm in favor of doing anything.
I think that would be the caveat, is
I can ask him, if he really feels strongly, and assuming he says no, then I'm not gonna bring it up
Very
again.
good.
Because there's an awful lot, not an awful lot, there's a reasonable amount to it.
Yes.
And we don't need to do it, I'm perfectly happy not to.
Okay, very good, thank you.
One, I haven't talked to Tina about this yet at all, but I'm just gonna mention it. When I noticed that at 11 o'clock we had the HR sorts of things and some of the stuff that goes into that, and the hit list that was on there. A lot of the public entities have incorporated, because a bunch of those go into it, into all of their personnel manuals, what's titled as a code of ethics. And within that, the things like nepotism and a whole lot of other things we've run into in recent years in terms of employee behavior, and how you handle it, what you do, it's covered in the personnel manual anyway, but it's nice to have that whole section segregated, separated in there in a lot of instances. Countywide, if we wanted to look at an example of one that's on Wyandotte, trying to think of who else, it's most of them around Kansas City that I can think of, but a lot of cities have done it as well. And I'm not looking for an answer to that one today, and I'd want to show Tina one anyway, because a lot of it is already present. In ours, it's just kind of stuck in different places. It might be a good way to put all of it in one location under one heading. Let's see, we talked about the hospital stuff. Lake, again. Besides, as part of doing laces and stuff, there are several of what I'm going to call overlays that I'm probably going to bring to you as recommendations. They're regulatory overlays on what we do and what we allow in specific areas of the county. It gets to this storage out there, and it gets to how people utilize the properties in these recreational areas. Found those in a number of places like Milford that I think there's some really good useful things in there that we ought to take a look at.
Can we expedite the items in the storage area?
Yes.
Vehicles?
Yes.
Move it?
That's separate and apart from it.
Okay.
It actually will include that overlay, but you can do it and then do that as a way to permanently address it in the
I guess
future.
I'm jumping to a different subject, but.
Do the vehicles ahead of time,
Yep,
Get that
Needs-
moving.
because that's getting worse, not better.
but the income, losing.
I was gonna bring up in commission comments, and maybe it's appropriate to bring up here, we talked about docks last week.
Bring it up now.
I've had some interaction with some of the people out there, and my thinking is changing.
Okay.
You know, I've always thought, you know, that, of course, I grew up with it, you know, little fishing lake, the little cabins and all that. You just go out on the dock and fish.
Mhm.
And in talking to people, that isn't the issue. They really don't care so much if somebody goes out there and fishes. But they say that's not the problem. The problem now is, with the lake being low, they're getting groups on these docks. And they're the floats are now hitting rocks and damaging them, and that's pretty costly. Breaking boards, damaging floats, and you know, with the liability that they would have and the county by somebody saying, they'll just have a party on that dock. I'm starting to lean toward privatization of the docks,
Mhm.
So,
because it's
Public
gone,
ground.
it's gone full circle from, and they all said, hey, we don't have a problem if somebody wants to come out and fish on it. One person told me that one night they went to theirs and there was 15 people on their dock. And it was almost halfway sunk just because of the weight. And they said, we didn't feel like we could say anything because we weren't using it. But
You can ask them.
if you've got to
Grab
replace,
your pole.
if you've got to replace the floats on one of those, I can't imagine what it costs to
Right.
pull that out and replace. Hey, it's just a different world, and I think we gotta look at it that way. I mean, it's just like law enforcement out there. Somebody called me and said, underage kids aren't supposed to be running side by sides with kids in the back out here, are they? Nope, they are, it's Memorial Day, they'll be doing the same thing on the 4th of July and on Labor Day, and, you know, we can't have a sheriff out there 24/7, and they know it. So, I don't know, this dock thing, I just think it's just a different world, and I'm
Do you
leaning
have
toward
a-
letting them, keep them private.
The water's down at least 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, you know, I never realized that, so
You
you
could
said,
do a
when you get a
low
bunch of
water
weight on that, they're banging
scenario
that
where they
thing
can
on
chain it
rocks. Well, I can imagine that
That would
tears up the
suffice that.
floats.
Yeah.
But you'd also need them to put a placard on there too of max capacity. I mean, if they're talking, I mean, if it's not a low water situation, it's 15 people sinking a dock, and it's not a low water situation, then they're gonna be required to put on max capacities.
So what about liability? So if it's owned by.
Well, I mean, you
If
know,
something would happen.
if somebody jumps off of there and hits their head on a rock and
Right.
drowns or whatever, we're gonna get sued, the dock owner's gonna get sued, everybody in the world's gonna get sued.
You might wanna, this happened because my granddaughter was sitting on the dock with her kids, and here come kids that usually run and jump off, you know, they're used to getting out of the vehicle, come down, run and jump off the dock, or the new dock or the old dock, either one, but now the water level's low, and she had to just stop it. She knew what they was gonna do. She could see them coming, and she just stood up and said, "Whoa, stop right here.
Swimming area?
Listen to me. There's only 1 foot of water out around this thing right now.
Yeah.
And so, don't jump in like you was just going to do, because I heard you say what you was gonna do. I'm gonna run and jump in." And she stopped that, and she said, they said, "Thank you. We didn't know that." Well, but they, you know, I.
They'd have known it if they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
It's a,
So do you have guidance or recommendation on what direction to even?
Start budgeting for a dock buyback.
Actually, yeah, I mean, because in developing or self-educating, we're not the first to deal with
Right.
that. So kind of started calling around to some of the others. I haven't checked with Isaac in terms of his thoughts. I'm sure he probably has some as well, but can probably give you several scenarios and some suggestions on that. So, yeah, I had that on the general list, but not as one of the first ones right now. But we should, because I get that call periodically. So you're telling me that I have to keep that thing out there. I have to let people get on it. I have to carry insurance to protect myself. I can't tell them to get off of it.
No, you can't.
And I said, yeah. I mean, the way we're set up right now, that's how it is.
Well, they can go down there with a fishing pole.
Yeah.
And they can tell them to get off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell
that's-
them, you know, keep
Yeah,
the
they're-
people off because it's hitting the bottom.
yeah.
Educate them.
But if it's hitting the bottom and hurting the dock, then there probably needs to be an acceptable rule for them to go ahead.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what the chain was. I thought they were just trying to keep people off.
I think that was the story that was the issue last week.
Yeah.
This week, this is different.
This is on the other side of the lake. The people with the chain on in the deep part, they don't have that problem.
But you still have to protect your property from damage.
yeah, I mean, just, how would you feel if you owned it? You went out there and there's 15 people jumping around on it, you know what's happening underneath.
I'd sell it.
They just disappear.
Train, one of them docks named train station.
Due to low water or something like that issue, that would, sounds like a reasonable effect just to say dock is closed. I mean, due to low water. I
Good
don't
luck
know.
on that.
And that takes care of like what Kent's saying is damage to my dock. I just say, due to low water, I can't let you on here.
And we could.
But I mean, who's gonna, are we gonna
How do you
give
enforce
that
it?
job to our lake superintendent and say, if you know it is, close it?
Yeah, having.
And then can the owner not use it?
Well,
That's.
every owner out, if one of them does it, every owner out there's gonna do it.
Well, no, then I would say that the owner couldn't use it either. Because they're causing damage to their dock, just like anybody else.
That's not in the,
That's their dock.
I don't know that's in the rules and the regs.
No, it's
It's
not.
not. We know it's not.
And it's touchy,
Yeah.
because we're talking about private property interests. to a degree here, as well, and there's a point beyond which we don't have the ability to legislate their ability to do things out of existence.
All right, I'm not gonna get an answer
Start,
today.
No.
start budgeting for dock buybacks.
So you want the county doing
We might as well get rid of them then.
So if we privatized those.
I mean, everybody in the
would
county
that
is
re-
paying for this lake. And then if
require
you're
a
gonna say,
resolution?
oh, these guys are special because they got a dock, I'm just trying to get rid of them. Get rid of them.
Where it is.
It also gets into a property interest because it's on a public body of water.
Right.
Right.
So I have to create a whole structure for how, people in the future. I bought a lake lot, and now I want to put a very elaborate dock out there, and you said those are privatized, so how is that going to work?
There
What are we
was
doing?
designated locations.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, we need to tax them somewhere.
It's true too.
They get them
You're
now
gonna tax them,
$5,000
but
to
you gotta build
$10,000
it.
if you sell one, so they do have a value.
Well, I sure don't want to end up with the Lake of the Ozarks effect around the lake. That's been the thing all the way that I've heard of inside the lake, that people say, keep it to, been sort of my guideline is keep it to where it's open, keep it to where it's not, you don't have a dock every 2 foot, and boat ramp everywhere, I mean, boat tie-up spots so they can leave it in the water.
Public versus private in terms of dealing with this, it is a really, really hard thing to come up with a good solution about it. In terms of there's a tug and pull there, and I understand with private property owners and their concerns and what they're required to do and allow to be done. On the other side of it, they've got some liability and some things there that, I don't know.
Then, if sort of like what John was saying, and I can go for this, is, okay, it is a county lake. And those spots was picked for docks, but we could take it back and say, no, they're not picked for docks, we just do away with them. And maybe the county has 2 or 3 docks around.
Yeah,
different
public
docks,
ones, yeah.
Public ones, and that's it. Just, I mean.
it. I'm gonna guess, in looking at the different lakes, that's probably
That's
what
what's
We're
what's
phasing them out
happening.
over the next 3 years or so.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, you gradually phase them out.
Not like you have to pull it out tomorrow.
Right. And even go 10 years maybe, I don't know. But I know the docks are expensive, but yet they're nice what we bought and what we put down there for right below.
Well, the poly ones are way better, less maintenance.
Yes.
They slip, they float,
You
Yeah.
ever-
they don't damage.
You ever walked on one barefoot?
Yeah, I know. They're a little hot.
Are they a little hot?
Oh, Christ, yes. Kinda like 10.
Oh, okay. Flip flops, water shoes.
They look nice.
All right, we're not gonna get an answer today.
No, I just,
We needed to talk about it.
Food for thought.
Yes.
You ever
Yeah.
caught a
no,
nail?
that's a good thought.
You ever caught a nail sticking out of the wood though?
Huh?
You ever caught a nail sticking out of the wood? Yeah.
That hurts too.
Yeah. I think
I get sued for that.
I think I'd do the hot step across the poly dock.
All right, what rabbit hole can we chase next?
that's kind of the list for today.
That's it?
That's a lot. I think that was simple.
I thought it was pretty simple.
I'm glad somebody thinks so.
Yeah. All right, if that concludes your portion, public forum. Mike, you have something?
Well, I think so. What I would like you to consider a request, all we gotta do is look out the window here. We had 2 handicaps parking places just below the building here. And now one of the employees occupies it 95% of the time. There's adequate room to pour another little slab of concrete where my pickup's sitting in the grass, wouldn't cost much. And we could, I think it would be something we ought to consider, just now that I have to kind of use them handicap spots as much as I can.
There is a 3rd spot, Mike, right on about another 25 foot onto the south of your truck there.
Well, the truck's sitting on the grass.
Yeah, I know, but 25 foot further south, there's one on the parking lot.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's the 3rd spot.
but an employee took one of them away and.
Oh, okay. Maybe the employee could use that, I don't know. But there is another one, but yeah, I know what you're saying, I'm looking at it.
And not that it's a big deal,
There's empty one right
but
now.
on the west side of the sidewalk going clear to the street, could there be a railing put up, which I would like to steady, you know, especially if I stop for any reason. That wouldn't cost much again and be helpful for anybody going further out.
There should be to any handicap stall, which actually Commissioner Dalkey pointed out, there's a handicap stall in the parking lot, but there's no railing from that stall to the courthouse. There's a railing from the closer one,
Yeah.
but there's not one else. That's a good point.
Most handicapped don't have railings.
Yeah.
Spots.
Pull out in Walmart, they're just closer to the door, that's about it.
I guess I would just think a railing would be used,
Yeah.
would be a good feature.
Railing would be,
We're moving forward with the parking lot.
We need to update on that. I don't have the answer for that.
And it's not about what's required, it would just be, it wouldn't cost anything to pour another little slab there and make the
Right.
third stall right down below here.
$1,000.
Hmm?
$1,000.
Well, you want me to put up half of it?
Wait a minute now, I don't want no private parking.
Yeah, yeah, we just got done talking about private docks, so we don't need a private Mike park.
All right, any good comments, Mike? Thank you.
Well, I'd like for you to consider that request seriously.
Very good. Okay.
The same person had 3 issues. We just discussed one a while ago about the engineer and the road and bridge. This next comment is about our dirt roads. Don't understand why there's dirt berms on the side of the roads. Dirt ought to be on the road instead of on the berms. I don't understand what's going on there, and that's what this person don't. And then that was that issue, and then the next issue was, I'm gonna pass on that one. I forgot that one. There was too many today to think of, but,
Okay.
she had an issue come up and couldn't make it, or she doesn't want to speak
Okay.
someday, so I told her to come on.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commission comments?
Yeah, I have the same ones, but I was going to take the dirt roads. I would like to see them graded ditch to ditch. There's no reason to put dirt on the side of a dirt road. The material isn't going anywhere. You're not saving it for later. It just needs to be rounded.
I should have mentioned these 2 guys are here today.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to visit the location. I don't know where the location was in our county, but I thought maybe one of our grader operators, maybe it's a new person's doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought maybe we did.
And
So,
then the other thing was, there's a good point that was brought up, was they go off to do this blade patching and
yes, that was the third point.
and chip seal, and they leave the roads, and then that berm sits off on the side on the gravel roads. Well, then weeds grow up in it, and then it's got vegetation, so then they don't drag it back across the road. And now we got a false ditch. So if gravel was laid out evenly before we went off to do the blade patching and stuff, that way it's covering surface of the road, and then if it rains or whatever, you know, it is what it is. But if they're gonna be gone for that extended period of time doing other road needed stuff, then the gravel needs to be laid out and not a berm on the side. Okay. And I was just gonna take that as a commission comment, because I think those are good ideas and recommendations. Now, if they can get it knocked, their rock moved off before harvest, that'd be good too, because the trucks will just pummel it to nothing.
All right. Any other comments?
Did we ever discuss hiring our blade patching done?
We did once upon a time.
Yes. We had cost estimates brought in.
And cost estimates seem to rule it out.
Right.
Because,
It was 2 or 3 times as much as one.
yeah.
It was about the same as
If
microsurface.
you could find somebody to do it.
Yeah, if you could find somebody to do it, that was the big thing. But that was, the comment was the reason why, because I know my south end grader operators are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're visiting the north end of the county to work.
And soon they'll be all on the south end of the county.
Yeah, it better be better than the last 2 years, because we haven't seen them till it's almost cold. I mean, it's been sort of an issue too, that we start in the same end of the county all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got customers down there that never see it till the end of the year for the last 2 years, and that they're all noticing it. So I think we need to change off
I had
and change the pattern a little bit.
one of the truck drivers tell me that he's only hauled one load east of Highway 77 since he's been there for a year. One load of gravel. He wondered why we never took gravel east. I said because they could take it to up north and over Peabody. He kinda agreed with me.
Some of those roads over there are rock.
I know,
Yeah.
they don't eat too much.
Yeah. Hard rock.
Any other comments?
Nobody gets enough rock
No,
anyplace, no matter where you live.
Or
Well,
the right kind,
that was-
or graded right?
That was my other comment, was I asked Gray Rock on a Gray Rock Road that we did, 2 mile stretch. Got told it wasn't needed. So this will be going into year 4 that we haven't done anything with this road because that Gray Rock is held up. I'm just saying, we're getting 4 times the use out of the Gray Rock than we are out of the White Rock, but it costs double, but you get 4 times the use, so you're actually saving half the cost. Just, we really need to rethink our policy on this.
They're supposed to be using the gray rock, aren't they? For the final covering.
Commission comment is I went and bought what I thought was gonna be the Ottawa rock, which I bought for years, which is the hard rock. And so I went and bought a 5-ton of it in a dump trailer from a local rock dealer. And I had more white chalk dust on me than anything. Now, it's went, I don't know if they're passing it off as Ottawa rock or what, but, I have went through 2 rain spells of 2 inches, or 2/10, and then a 1/2 inch, I think, went through that rock now. And it's not dissolving quite as fast as what our limestone does, but it's given away, and I don't know where it come from. I have not talked to the rock dealer yet to verify what it is, because I've bought rock from that dealer for lots of years, and I expected better rock. So, I don't know, we gotta be careful as buying the kind of rock we buy in the county too.
Okay, Kent, you're the only one that didn't get any commission comments. But you had your comments on the docks.
Yeah, we brought it in when we were talking about the lake.
All right, everybody had a chance to, with that, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garing, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried 5-0.
What employee is parking
But the
there? You
race-
said that's an employee parking there. Which one?
Okay. So give it a deadline. He had to be done by
She works here in
September.
court?
Contract races.